Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chapter 4 of Story 2 of the Very Angry Dogs Chronicle with Storyteller Chris Allen. We are joined by the usual cast of players in the pack. We've got Jack, also known as Stormbringer, being played by Keith Miller. We've got Johnny Galloway, played by Peter Glasewski. We've got Harmonious Flame, Dr. Marta Strojek, played by Agna Allen, and Bill, aka Thornbreaker, will be played by myself, Dan Prisco Bucksbaum. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Chris, who will give you guys an update about what you may have missed last chapter and where the pack is now. Chris, why don't you take it away?
Hello, hello. Yes, indeed. Well, as per usual, just giving the content warning of doubtless extreme violence, body horror, occult horror, and depending on how much the pack dig into the Ooze cult, some other dark themes that may be coming through today. But what happened last time? Well, the pack decided it was time to have a showdown with Corley Hawkhurst, a lone wolf operating out of the town of Gleesham on their territory, who had apparently placed a spiritual claim upon the person they're trying to make their new pack member, young Jenny Fulton. That was the Elodoth, Harmony's Flame, put sort of yanked the reins a bit on the pack and made them do a little bit of preparation and planning and a bit of research before diving straight in, finding out from the old wolf's notes that she had dealings with Hawkhurst, and that it related to his expertise as possibly an occult architect, something involving the power, the occult architecture and the power in the town being channeled into something on her behalf. She didn't think much of him, but she had a certain amount of respect for how dug in he was and the assets he had. The pack then decided to follow up principally on this. The police arrived and gave some of the pack some awkward questions to answer, although it wasn't taken any further at the time. The pack then went off, was split as three pack members went in to confront Hawkhurst, which resulted in having coffee with him on the street, since he was clearly aware of them. Him placing some unpleasant spiritual effects on the pack who faced him, and generally not being cooperative with their desires, essentially informing them that he ran the town, it wasn't theirs, and that he wasn't going to give up any claim he had on it, while also convinced that they were sort of giving them a taste of his particularly warped ideas of theology. Meanwhile, Stormbringer helped out back in the territory, left alone by the rest. He helped out a starving spirit that had been bound to caretake somewhat of the estate by the old wolf, and this led to it, in gratitude, showing him towards a secret part of the house, a hidden element to the mansion in the shadow that had not hitherto been explored. After making a deal with a mirror spirit that blocked the way, the Rahu found the chamber beyond, a place that is unanchored from anywhere in reality, containing a distorted, tormented mass of vitrine avian forms embedded into the raw substrate of the shadow around it. He touched it, catapulted his perception across time and space, decided that what he really needed to do was to do this more, figured out how to do it more, which is that he was missing a spiritual component, an avian spirit that would allow him to fully connect to the conduit that this vitrine shape anchored. Got the totem to help him out, and went full reality explorer, reaching somewhere beyond his preconceptions of existence, where something waited, and in its shadow, in the shadow of that ghastly, awful, massive something, he found, as it turned out, a panicked and desperate, very powerful spirit that had somehow ended up lodged there. This spirit appears to be the Kestrel, the missing totem of the Pure Pack that once held this territory, noted by everyone as no longer being around, but no one really knew why. With one foot back in reality, it took control and possessed Stormbringer, consuming one of the pack's ally spirits to fuel its own essence needs, dragging him up to a hilltop nearby and performing an occult ritual with his fleshy form to provide it with the gateway to fully get itself back into reality, and then exploding out and hurtling towards the skies in shock, trauma, confusion, glee, and doubtless many other spiritual emotions tangled together. That's where we left things off. The pack were on the hilltop overlooking Kestrel Hall. The Rahu, the full moon, is suffered horrific amounts of damage, but is knitting back together and has taken the, one might say, wise approach of falling unconscious in the face of such overwhelming pain, having blood-eagled himself, or having had the Kestrel blood-eagle him. The pack totem has been discorporated, but the pack bond is still present, meaning that the Unconquered Raven is not destroyed permanently, and it will reform in time. And and I mean that was pretty much where we left off. So the pack had the task of getting Stormbringer back down, essentially, and I think we're going to skip past the logistics of hurrying your blooded packmate down. There aren't any walkers around up there on this blustery, bright spring day, sort of late, about midday-ish. And thankfully, there aren't any inconvenient police hanging around the estate at this point, so you can get your full moon back down to the estate without any problems. So I think where we're going to pick up is first scene is going to be back in the mansion. Stormbringer is laid out on one of the beds, probably having had to be. I don't know whether you bothered washing him first, or whether you're just going to give up to the fact that these sheets are going to get a bit blood soaked. He isn't really bleeding anymore. That's mostly knitted up, but a lot of blood came out of him, and it hasn't. A lot of it's still clotted and a bit sticky all over your full moon. So he's going to need a bit of a hosing down at some point. However, the regeneration is taking full effect. It is clear to you your packmate is not going to die. Yes, Johnny.
Can we just put him in the bathtub and run the water?
You can just put him in the bathtub and run the water instead. That's fine. So where we start off is Stormbringer's in the bathtub, having been, you basically had to pull clothes off him because he shredded a lot of his clothes when he was ripping himself open. He is soaking in a bloody pool of water. Mary has basically seen you dragging Stormbringer in, covered in blood, and and go, what the ever-loving fuck happened? That's having a minor, not freak out, more. She's quite angry. Both because her packmate's injured and because you guys have gone and, as far as she's concerned, you guys have gone and fucked things up again somehow. And it was Stormbringer who's ended up gutted, who was the one who gave her a growling at last time, and now he is in a bathtub, soaking in his own gore. And she has felt something's wrong with the totem bond as well. So I assume you've told her the totem's been discorporated, but she knows that something's so that's sort of where we are. Stormbringer is coming round in a lukewarm tub of water. You've had about half an hour, so 2 more points of lethal damage have healed by this point. And your body is now eased up on the raw agony elements enough to go, you know what, we can grant you access back to the land of being aware of your surroundings again.
Yay.
So that's where we kick off. You are cramped in one of the many bathrooms. This is an old one that really needs refurbishing. Hasn't been refurbished since the 60s at latest. In an old style bathtub, blood soaked. Your Rahu coming round painfully. Your totem is not present in your minds. Only the lingering thread of the totem bond is still there. Take it away.
Yes.
Morning,
So the
sunshine.
first thing he's going to do is climb out of the tub, walk straight to the liquor cabinet, and grab a bottle of Jack Daniels.
Okay, so he stumbles to go to the nearest liquor cabinet, which is probably whatever he's got stocked by his own bed, because you're on the first floor here, on the ground floor. So after a short shuffle of your full moon going off to get himself some booze, and presumably knocking a bunch of that back, you are on the landing with a dripping wet, less bloody full moon who's now knocking back the booze. It hits with a pleasant burn. Talking of burns, Stormbringer, when you were in that, you felt your flesh almost cooking, but it wasn't like of heat. It was very weird. Your flesh is still prickling, not as intensely as it was, but your body is telling you that something has damaged, or maybe it still is damaging your flesh.
Thanks.
And in fact, while you're there, the others will easily notice it. I don't know if any of you have any dots in medicine, but clumps of Stormbringer's hair have come out, and he's pocked with sores and little lesions that have popped up on his regenerating flesh. It's regenerating and clearing the damage up, but something is wrong.
Ew.
I poke one in the sores. That's not normal.
It doesn't look like it doesn't look like it's infected.
Does your hair normally do that?
Clump coming out. No, your hair doesn't usually come out in clumps.
No. No.
So now that you're awake, what did you do?
Fuck if I know.
Who did you talk to?
Just start
Talk
from the
to
beginning.
anybody.
Tell us what happened.
I talked to the mirror. Yeah, mirror. The mirror?
Actually, wait. Johnny should not find that too weird because he talks to mirrors, so he does
It
not
was the
do
mirror.
He doesn't do the blink.
And
Some sort of-
then
Ghost?
And
Spirit mirror?
Then a thing happened. Yes, spirit mirror. And then some things happened, and I touched a big glass tree, and then I woke up. Diseased.
Wow,
Wonderful.
this is so detailed.
The cliff notes are amazing.
Thornbreaker is not angry so much as he's terribly exasperated by the day they just had, and says, "Let me fill in some of the blanks for you. We found you strangling the totem, possessed by something which then tore its way out of your insides."
Something called a kestrel.
Yeah,
I add.
I believe that. This jives.
Thornbreaker looks at Johnny like, "Is this supposed to be normal? Did I hit my head?"
Johnny's just got. He's just doing the Justin Timberlake blinking meme at this point.
Was
So
this
kestrel
intentional?
Thing,
Was
this
what
kestrel
intention?
thing that came out of you. That the
Fuck
spirit
if
of
I
this
know.
place or something?
Well,
No, I know. I checked its name. It's called a kestrel and some other names as well. But anyway, since this is called Kestrel Hall, I was wondering if this is the spirit of this place or something.
it's the spirit of the former Puritan pack that used to run this territory.
Ah, guess that would explain the whole exploding insides then.
Yep. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
So
Not gonna lie.
you found the kestrel. and,
Apparently.
Like you just decided to turn the key and let it out, huh?
Well, it kind of didn't happen that way. I kind of found the kestrel at the same time and decided to mind fuck me.
All right.
Yeah, this is about par for the course for us. I'm gonna go make a cup of coffee.
This is not par for the course. This is we're way off course. I mean, we'll figure it out, but this is way off course. Anyway. All right. So, the kestrel is missing, and we never had any records as to why Great Aunt Clarice ever said it was missing.
That's not my problem. Your aunt was weird.
Yes, but she might have known why it was missing, and it was a good idea that it was missing. Because what I saw come out of you did not look like a good idea. It did not look like something that should. It did not look like something that should have been released back into the flesh.
If it's a pure totem, then it's gonna be fact.
As your another point of lethal heals off you, Stormbringer, from time, your body is now forcing out little shards of glass. Well, your body is shedding portions of you that turned to glass, thin little bits of it, like on your hands and things, and a few flecks on your skin. So as you're sitting there, little bits of glass are just going. Well, little bits of glass, vitrified flesh. He hasn't got a coating of glass. It's just portions of him turned slightly glassy, just sort of cracking off and hitting the ground as fresh skin is regrowing underneath.
Oh, I figured out what killed Aunt Clarice.
Yeah, turning to glass.
I never said it was complicated. I found the thing that did it.
So wait, the Pure was your family?
My family.
His, not mine.
And to,
I'm very confused as to why Ivory Claw left her land, estate, and holdings to an American hunter in darkness, but it happened.
wait, she left it to you, so you didn't get it as default? Did she specifically leave it for you?
Yeah, I was named in the will and everything.
Why? You're a Forsaken.
I come back to his aunt was fucking weird.
He's worse than he's Forsaken. He's an American.
You hear a muffled cry from the kitchen. We left you alone for 2 hours!
Okay, clearly there is.
A lot to unpack here.
So
I think
Stormbringer's
some
going
coffee
to
and some alcohol.
Stormbringer is going to go into the kitchen where Bill is. In his very grumpy, very unhappy mood. And kind of do one of those pushing his finger into Bill's chest. And how did your fucking adventure go, asshole?
Horribly! Thanks for asking! I was taking solace from the fact that you were here watching Mary and Jenny! I take a cup of coffee and thrust it towards him.
Speaking of, Mary has emerged into the kitchen. I think, to Marcus, Jenny's down again. She's sleeping, but she's just sleeping now. She seems okay. Whoa! She looks at Stormbringer again, and that your flesh is like. But she looks like squints a bit closer. Goes, your flesh is regenerating again. What's going on?
He holds up his hand. I know.
No, I mean, she points because you can, and Stormbringer can see the lesions and damage on skin is healing, and then blistering back. Fresh damage is emerging in the new skin. So she gets her mobile phone out, takes a fucking picture, goes to 1 second. I'm gonna find out what the fuck have you contracted something fucking infectious, and starts searching through like NHS 111 stuff of what to do if your flesh starts to blister and pop in unpleasant ways.
So he's become a leper.
More like irradiated or something, probably. But with what if he was in the spirit world?
The damage is getting less. Your body is constantly regenerating what's happening, and it's getting less and less over time, but it's still present, if you know what I mean.
Can we? I guess I'm now alone with Johnny, so I look at him and say, clearly there's a lot happening in this building. If I'm gonna be part of your pack, I need to know the dangers and everything.
Well,
All of them.
As I'm only laughing because fuck all if we.
And if you don't, even you don't know them yet, then clearly we need to do some exploring.
yeah.
That's what I was doing.
So, Kestrel Hall itself, it's pretty barren on the spiritual landscape, all things considered, which is surprising. I feel like the spiritual reflection of this place is the corpse of something long dead, but I don't know. You've seen the inside of the mansion. It looks very... I've seen building spirits, and it looks nothing like that. My point. So I've always found that a little suspicious.
Yeah.
But the spiritual landscape here has largely left us alone. We did some exploring back when we first came in, but we never found this particular wing that Stormbringer mentioned.
Maybe
Off
he
the
can show
ground.
us how he found it. And we'll need to figure out why the place is so barren, because we will need spirit allies.
So, about that. So this isn't the first time that Stormbringer has found an occult light socket to stick his finger into here. The first time was back at the Locust, where his eyeballs exploded.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. Anyway, point is ironically he did that by himself too. So there's a pattern emerging.
To
Anyway,
be fair, he was with Thornbreaker at the time, I believe.
oh, that's true. Never mind. So the pattern is it's when I'm not around, something bad happens like that.
Okay.
Anyway, so I think the reason why it's a Baron is because when Stormbringer stuck his finger into the first occult light socket here, he saw a vision of something come hurling down to the ground. We don't know what it was, and it struck somewhere here. And back when we first moved in, we were told that at some point a geological survey was done here, and the soil was radioactive. Radiation is like beyond safe even for humans, but it was radioactive.
So in the kitchen, Mary suddenly shuffles much further away from Stormbringer and goes, look at the thing on the phone. Goes, I think you've got severe radiation burns or something. He looks at you. Where the fuck have you been dumpster diving?
Stormbringer's gonna drop his cup of coffee, like in like a shock moment, and then go, "Oh, wait a minute, hold on." Recalling the geological survey and everything, I wonder if that's where it's coming from.
So what, like a meteor fell down or something, and it's still radiating? And so we shouldn't have Mary and Jenny and others here, should we?
Well, the radiation levels are, again, very low. They're not going to harm humans. Type deal.
From down below, you see Mary coming to the bottom of the stairs, look up at you and goes, Stormbringer's been irradiated, I think. Should we be clearing out of here? Is it dangerous? I mean, apart from the usual ways.
Maybe. I don't know. How do werewolves handle radiation? I say.
Stormbringer, you can feel your flesh is the prickling, the sense of damage is reducing as your flesh regenerates and regenerates, and it's just clearing away.
Out of game, the scientist in the room, you actually can't get radiation poisoning from someone who's been irradiated. You can only get radiation from a source material. So that's your science moment of the day. The more you know.
Oh, cool. So I would know that because I have science free.
There you go.
Yeah, so he's probably not dangerous, except it depends where this irradiation came from, because you don't randomly just get soaked with radiation in the middle of the countryside unless there's a source. So where the fuck is the source?
So my theory is now. So the only thing that came out of you is the Kestrel nuclear?
Well, Stormbringer, you remember your flesh prickling and starting to burn like this as soon as you went into the room with the glass.
Yes. So, I think I know where the radiation is coming from. And there's nothing majorly to worry about out the fallen world. However, that being said, I can feel that it's not actually as bad as it looks. Don't worry, I'm not going to grow an extra head or anything, although that would be really cool. No, Sorry. No, we're fine. It's all fine. Everything's fine. Nothing to worry about. We're good.
So why don't you, after you're feeling better there, champ, why don't we go see this radiation source so our scientists can take a look at it?
So
why does anyone think that's a good idea?
Jack is going to literally, you know what? I'm going to roll it because, I should. Pete, what's your defense?
5.
Okay.
Oh wait, no, you're not hitting me, motherfucker, because I'm gonna hit and run. I'm gonna hurt your emotions and then walk away.
Surprise attack, bitch. It's 5.
I'm gonna hit and run. I will spend the point of essence not to take
You can burn a point of essence to supernaturally basically zoom away. Yes, you can do that. It will cost you a point of essence to do.
Just to avoid 3 bashing. Real good use of resources. But whatever.
I'm not going to.
You're not going to? Okay, well, Stormbringer is presumably hitting you? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, he's hitting me.
I just punch him. I'm just punching him for being an ass. It's the short version.
Yep. 3 turns and the bashing will have healed.
Yay. All right.
First, you said your aunt had some fucking workshop or something.
Yeah, in the shadow.
Good. I want to see it.
All right. Let's go. Oh, it's the first time you've been in there. Anyway.
Okay, so the pack piling into the crab trap. Okay, so yes, Stormbringer, this will be your first experience with the crab trap. The entrance to the Ivory Claw's workshop in the shadow has a mass of spines and blades warped out of the very fabric of the shadow, the building's material, pointing all sort of towards one direction, so you can get into the workshop just fine, but when you go out, you have to push past and through the spines and blades. The contents of itself, it is a shadow warp. Is the shadow of the it's the shadow of the room with the glass roof area. It's the shadow of her study in the real world with the glass roof. So again, in here you have this bulbous mass of the inside of that, which is glowing and shimmering slightly with a sickly light, the metal itself. And then within you have the nightmarish occult workshop of an Ivory Claw elder who was big into pain. As well as the delicate glasswork of her mass blood collection of Gleesham residents, the strange warped glass masks, the random person's decapitated head, which is slowly sifting out dust, and other oddments and strangeness around the place, and notes and the like as well. Many wrought on the fabric of shadow stuff, either minor spirits or somehow some matter extracted from the shadow and from spirits to make books and other such things. So yeah, this is it. It's pretty grotesque. It's also not very. This room feels spent. What I mean by that is it's filled with horrible shit, but there's no sense of malice left to it really, because the old wolf is dead and gone.
Okay. So he's going to start thumbing through. There are books, shelves, and whatnot. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. He's going to start thumbing through the books. Just basically, he's going to spend the day in there, looking for any information that fits along the lines of the last thing that he found.
Okay.
A journal. This is primarily, obviously, not printed books if she has a printed books there, but more like her journals.
Yeah.
Her own research.
Yeah, and with the work Harmonious Flame and Johnny have done going over some of her notes and stuff already, they can kind of help point you towards certain books that are more likely to be fruitful, and some that are clearly just like much more mundane or much more the spiritual equivalent of counting, I guess. Can you give me either an academics or occult roll, int plus either academics or occult?
putting the willpower into this. I want to know what that. One success.
Okay, so those
Dude,
two
it counts for something, right?
Those are the pack who've gone in with Stormbringer into the crab trap, into the lobster pot. You sort of show, see Stormbringer leafing through some stuff, and after a little while, you're thumbing through one of the books, Stormbringer, and you come to a beautiful hand-drawn, presumably pencil work, but very, very good artistry, hand-drawn picture of a twisted mass of avian features pushing out of it, which, from the way it's illustrated, is clearly meant to be glass. And you flip the page, and there's another one that's slightly different. And basically, there's a whole series of pages of this, which are renditions of the glass mass. But as when you looked at it and when you went round, it looked slightly different after you'd gone round it once. So these could be freeze frames over time. They could all be from one viewing. You're not sure, but they were hand recorded, hand drawn, and that is in a section of notes in one of the books. Leafing through a few others, you find some other pictures in one particular block of books on the shelf. The books here do not have what I would say. They don't call attention to themselves immediately. These are not like gold-bound books of a big secret or anything. They are one among many, but they are shelved and organised separate from the rest. And while they do not immediately blare out, read here for occult secrets, looking at it, and the writing's good, but it's old-style cursive, you start to pick out some things that have meaning to you now. The best guess you can assemble here from these notes, and there are probably other notes here as well, but the best guess is that Great Aunt Clarice was attempting to bridge the gap that you bridged. She had found is the wrong word. You think it was already there, the mass. She didn't create it. But from the earlier entries in what she's got written here, it was in a different state. Over time, that began to change.
The glass was.
She appears to have done. There are references in here, for example, to the deal she made with Hawkhurst. There's a note saying 3 years after she'd made that deal, at 3 years, she was seeing development.
Does it have anything about the details of the deal with Hawkhurst?
The glass energy he was supposed to send.
Yes, the indication she said she'd got him to do something with the occult architecture, occult landscape of Gleesham, was channeling glass resonance into the locus here, which she was then siphoning off into the glass tumor itself, and was forcing open or forcing across. She speaks of it as a bridge, so she speaks of it as building a bridge to something, essentially. And that at first the bridge couldn't go that far, but then she spent effort building the bridge in various means, the latest and most effective of which was getting Hawkhurst to channel the town's resonance into Kestrel Hall itself. She doesn't have an awful lot of detail in there about the deal or what she promised him for it. How it was achieved, she does make reference to ley lines, she makes reference to sacred sites, and she makes reference to the burgeoning power of the human hive, and that this is. She makes oblique references to the fact that Hawkhurst was tapping into this power and sending it to her, but she doesn't really talk about the details and doesn't seem interested in that. So that's a matter for him to resolve to fulfill his part of the deal. He said he could do this for her, so he's doing it. And that, however, she also makes notes that increasingly she is seeing consequences of her attempt to cross the bridge that match what happened to makes reference to someone called Thaddeus, just the name Thaddeus by itself, including there is a reference in there to, I had to take a hammer to my left arm after I came out this time, so that it could regenerate once the glass was gone. The indication is she started to see increasing side effects of attempting to cross the bridge, with her body beginning to degrade. There is then another set of references in there saying, let me find her name. There is a reference to the spirit who you met right at the beginning, the freakily tall white woman, saying that pact with the white woman may have solved the problem of crossing the bridge. It may help protect. This may be the protection I need. There is also a reference. There are notes going back. There are older notes than hers you find, and one of the books starts as someone else in someone else's writing, though you don't know whose, and is referring to the glass mass and the shapes, and referring to its holy, divine, and that it is their duty to plumb the divine nature of this relic. They start to experiment with the bridge. They start to understand what they've got, and then at some point Clarice takes over. But there is a very stark division. About 30 years ago in the notes, when Clarice's experimentation, there is a section of the book that is basically, there's like pages that are partly soaked in blood or ichor, and frenzied scribbling in the pages around it, indicating there was some sort of ritual confluence she attempted to tap into to cross the bridge. Something went horribly fucking wrong, and she tried to use the wolf-blooded as part of this ritual. It's not quite clear. It didn't work, and afterwards she lost her shit completely. The killer line, though, is about 15 years ago. It's just slipped in there because there are references in there that will make more sense as you think you piece it together, but the killer line is, if I am going to reach a god, what sacrifice must I make? Is betrayal a blasphemy if it serves an even higher power?
Dum dum dum.
And shortly afterwards, the notes start taking the form, or there are references to the kestrel, serving possibly as a conduit to help reach the divine, the divine echo, the god beyond.
Interesting.
Okay,
Yes, we were
so
leaning over Stormbringer's shoulder reading that.
He's gonna kind of give one of those jump starts because he was so engrossed in it, and kind of just push her back. Hey, crowd, you don't want to catch some resonant whatever the fuck I got.
By this point, you've healed probably all your damage, and the radiation effects have just gone. You're not getting any burn left.
Still, you don't know.
The kestrel.
You want to have kids someday? Go away.
So the kestrel wasn't in prison intentionally. That looks like it was a mistake. She was trying to use it as a bridge to, I'm going to call it unreality. Something might have horribly went wrong and it got trapped wherever it was.
It looks like she thought that might be the case anyway, that is the risk, and it was the risk that she was willing to take. The pure treat their totems as gods. They worship them. But like she wrote there, is it a betrayal if she's doing it to worship something greater? I look at Stormbringer, do you remember anything from being on the other side of this bridge thing?
So the radiation is coming from the thing. That's the radiation that we're dealing with on the property, obviously bad. But it's been here obviously a long time. Maybe this has something to do with that meteor that hit the area. This is what was delivered, right? Wasn't there a meteor or something that hit umpteen bazillion years ago?
So maybe this glass tomb or whatever she calls it is the
it's part of it.
The spiritual echo. That's what I was looking for. When a great event happens, it usually echoes in the shadow for ages to come.
Well, whatever it is, you can move your consciousness through it to something else. and the kestrel was trapped there. So I guess it decided to use me as a meat puppet to get out.
Was it alone there?
I don't know. I honestly don't even remember running.
Well,
I reached out. I felt something that was desperate to escape, that didn't belong. And then the next thing I know, my lungs were outside. So you do the math.
Chris, is there an illustration of what the kestrel used to look like?
Also, there's stuff around the house of a heraldic kestrel. There is no. You haven't seen any depictions apart from those. There's no and here's this year's team portrait of the 5-star winner kestrel, still the best totem. It depends on whether it depends on what exactly kestrel was supposed to look like before, whether those renditions you've seen are accurate or whether it looked like some god monstrous abomination already. It looked pretty fucked up when it came out of Stormbringer, but then, I mean, you would really, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I was about to say, if it spent that long, if it's spent that long in the presence of God, completely devoid of anything else, it may have. Well, we don't even know how long that is. It's only a couple of months at most.
Depending how powerful it is, it probably should have starved to death by now, if it was stuck somewhere that there was no essence for it to take. If it was stuck where there was no essence for it to take,
right?
But it doesn't sound like it was stuck somewhere where there was no essence to take because she was channeling essence to wherever the hell it was.
But it was stuck somewhere.
Or there was essence for it to take, and a maggot was born.
While they're doing research, Thornbreaker had stayed outside, and
you stay the fuck out of that mirror.
Yeah, he's going to visit with Jenny now that she's regained consciousness. Yes,
she had fallen back to sleep again, but when she will wake up later in the day while these guys are badgering around in the lobster pot, so you'll be able to talk to her when she comes around again. So when you come in, she's come around. Mary's gotten her a hot cup of tea and some food, and Jenny's sitting up. She looks quite pale, a bit wan, but not like bloodless pale. More just has been through a lot of shit pale. She looks up as you come in. And try in a kind of attempting to manage a level of defensive humor. Goes, your club really sucks. You know that.
He tries to he does that little laugh to prevent yourself from breaking down, and he pulls up a chair next to her bedside. How are you feeling?
Like shit. Like someone kicked me in the stomach, but not in the stomach. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Mary said that the oozers had some sort of, those bastards had some sort of, that it's something to do with them, and that the magic bird couldn't unhook it. So, but now the magic bird's exploded or something. I'm not entirely clear. I feel like shit, but I've stopped throwing up at this point. So that's got to be like a plus, right? I mean, I felt worse. There was that time I mixed some, I don't know if I should admit this to you. You're not the police, are you? So we mixed some pills with some alcohol once I was out with my friends. It was very unwise. I felt really shit the next day, vomiting all the time. This doesn't feel that bad, but it feels pretty fucking bad.
We are working on trying to fix what's wrong.
What if something's not wrong? Maybe if this is, I don't know. Maybe I'm not supposed to be part of your magic club.
This isn't accidental. There is a man named Hawkhurst. He's like us, but not like us. He's not.
He's the one. Yeah, he's the one who told me I was a witch. Such. and not in a fun, hippie kind of way. You know,
He's one of the bad ones, and we're figuring out how to deal with him. And when we do, then you'll be free to join our magic club.
Yeah, I guess so.
If you want to. There's no pressure on you, but right now he's done something that has marked you in a detrimental
he
way.
and me, they said I was a bad person. They said I was a bad person because of what I could do, that I was touched by the devil, right? And yeah, I know they're full of shit, but they say that the point of their thing, they were trying to get me to do what they wanted. They would say that I was sick or wrong or bad, and that I should help them serve God, and that would make me that would help pay for my evil, whatever, you know. I mean, obviously, they're a bunch of sick fucks, you know, picking on people. Well, yeah, but I mean, well, that's what I thought. But then again, I can talk to animals, you can turn into wolves, and now apparently they've literally got magic hooks in my soul. So what if they're right?
They're not.
I mean, how do you know? What if you know, I never paid much attention at school to when we had to get stand up and sing prayers. What if there is some? What if God is a complete asshole and actually and he's right, that what I've got, what I can do, it isn't good. It's wrong, and I.
So, do you remember how I told you that what we are is complicated? That there's different types of werewolves? My type of werewolf, we are the keepers of the old stories. We pass them on generation by generation. Hawkhurst, he hasn't connected with our people. He doesn't know the stories. He's invented his own to replace them. He's a liar and a manipulator. But I know the old stories, and I know you're not evil because I know where we all come from.
Yeah, maybe you're right. It's just I can feel it now, right? I mean, I suppose it was there before, but I can really feel it. Like he wants me, and not in a creepy paedophile way, you know. No, it's different. It's something else. It's more like if you see the police and you get scared because you think they're going to bust you for something, but much worse than that. Like it feels like he has authority over me, but that doesn't make it sense. I mean, now I'm feeling it. Like he's, or he wants to own me, but that doesn't. Again, it sounds like sick pedophile stuff, I guess. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know the guy that well, but it's just not what I'm feeling. I feel like it would be safest and best for everyone if I just went with what he wants, which doesn't feel quite like, I don't know.
He essentially has magical controlling to urge you to do things. It's a side effect of whatever ritual he used to mark you.
He didn't do any rituals to me or anything. That's also, I don't understand. He didn't do anything like.
Our people have powers that don't necessarily require us to say magic words or wave a wand. They resonate spiritually.
All he did was tell me I was shit and worth shit, and that the only way out of it was to just serve his fucking cult. He didn't, and that's enough.
It can be. Sometimes you don't even need that much. Sometimes it takes a look, a gesture,
She sort of slumps back, tired. Again, I don't know. I don't want to think about it all. Like,
You don't need
so
to.
what?
Don't fret about it. You just go about your life, but I promise you I will not stop until I fix this, even if it costs me my life.
She looks like she wants to say more, possibly object in something you said, not the whole thing, but something. But at which point Mary has come up with some food for her to follow. Oh, you're keeping things down now. Good, right? Give her a space, Thornbreaker, to get this down. Get a space, Bill, to get this down. And then Mary, when Jenny is distracted, points at you and then kind of, you out now. I'm gonna fucking word with you kind of look.
Thornbreaker nods and steps out into the hallway.
She walks.
Can we get back just in time to hear Thornbreaker get his reading?
Yeah, likely you'll hear. You might be turning up and hearing this. You'll be blooded from pushing yourself out of the blades of the crab.
Oh, that's fine.
Lobster pot, but but yeah, so she's not. Mary is unusually. Mary is quite highly strung, but she's unusually angry. You don't think the anger is necessarily directed at you, but more in a general malaise of fuckery. We've just had one pack member dragged up off of a hilltop with his ribcage split open. We had nearly had a comatose young woman here when the police turned up this morning. You blew up a building last night. We're really lucky. We're really lucky that we're not all under arrest already. Or worse, that someone up there didn't fucking see you guys and come hulking down because one of you sacrificed himself to God knows what. I'm not trying to have a go at you, but is there going to be 24 hours where things don't get worse?
So is Mary wearing an earring?
No, not at the moment.
Any jewelry, any ornamentation?
No, she's actually surprisingly practically dressed.
Okay. He's going to look around for something loose, something he can pick up. Is there anything around?
Yeah, loads of things on some
small?
bits of stuff on side tables.
Okay,
bits from
so
the staff trying
he
to
picks
pick
up
things
something. He picks up something small from a side table and he walks over to her and he says, "Do you see this?
Yeah.
This represents the impending danger that you're so concerned we're bringing to you. You ready for this?" He walks over to a nearby piece of furniture with drawers. He opens the drawer, he puts it in, he closes the drawer. He says, "Is it gone?"
Do you think I'm concerned with danger to me here?
He points to...
Is that what you think?
He points...
Stormbringer came in with his ribs almost open and his flesh sloughing off his body. And yes, it's patched up, but he cut himself open. Jenny nearly ended up fucking comatose. Just because the problems aren't... There are problems that are there, and there are problems that we're inviting.
He points to Jenny and he says, "The asshole who used dark spiritual energy to mark that innocent child did it long before we showed up. Just because we've opened the drawer doesn't mean you were in all in mortal danger before. It just means that someone's doing something about it.
And if you're going to deal with that asshole, you can't do it by blowing buildings up. Or you will not have very long to do it in, because you will end up dead or in jail."
So then what should we do, Mary?
I'm not exactly sure how half of this has come about, but just try and maybe stick the brakes on blowing the town up. Or...
We're trying, Mary. We solve things with violence. That's how we were taught to do things. And not for nothing, but the few times I've tried to deal with things in a civil manner have gone horribly shite.
Bill, Jack is going to just poke his head in, hearing the whole, we try to solve things with violence, and he's going to go, "We are Americans after all," and pull his head back.
He probably
he
didn't
calms
need...
himself down. He calms himself down and he says, "Look, I want to be more discreet. We're trying to evolve here. But we are at a severe disadvantage because everyone in this fucking town is so entrenched, and we arrived and inherited a storm of shit.
Maybe, yeah, but there's gotta be something. I don't know what the answer is because I haven't been out there blowing buildings up. It's true that I haven't been out in the moment because presumably I would already be dead if I had been. But there's got to be a moment you can take when you're out there just to stop and go, what are the consequences of what we're doing going to be? Because right now it was very nearly a long-term comatose girl, which we'd have a really hard time answering for next time the police coming. And it's been a crater in the town, and it's been one pack member spraying his guts around the hillside. It can and will get worse. And it's going to hit the point where you can't answer for it. And I can't even appeal to the fucking totem because he's exploded.
Thornbreaker drums his fingers gently on the piece of furniture that he just did his demonstration with, staring at Mary for a moment. And then he says, I'll take it under advisement.
That's all I ask. Is Johnny there, by the way?
Johnny is there, and he, as he's walking with the other 3 pack members, I've got one more source I need to try.
Okay, well, you say that. I've got something Johnny will notice, but say your piece first.
Well, Johnny was going to go bother his spiritual touchstone. He thinks it's an ancestor spirit, so he thinks it might have more information.
Okay. Well,
but as we're doing this, go on.
Upon you've turned up as saying that, you see Mary is subsiding as well. She's clearly she's happy with Thornbreaker just going, I'll at least consider what you've said. Just in the glimpse of you catch a reflection from anything. Maybe it is the ancestral spirit, a reflection of a woman's face that's not Mary's in one of the old cabinets that's been cleaned up there in the glass. You catch it from it, and then you go, no, it's that other woman. Because if you remember last time, you saw a woman's face that looked similar to, but was not the great aunt or the other woman, the third woman. There's strange, mysterious woman who you see in the ancestor spirit's dual nature. Yep. This woman you catch, and she just for a moment you get, and her expression is fierce, possibly angry, like she's looking at someone in this scene with a look of somewhere between hatred and fury. But you just catch it, and you can't quite tell who she's paying that attention to. And then you look back, and it's just not there anymore, just out the corner of your eye. But you think it's the same woman you saw before. There is nothing untoward in Twilight here.
Okay, that's the second time I've seen that. And he kind of mutters that under his breath and not.
What was that? You're seeing things?
It's the second time I've seen this particular spirit. I don't know what it is. Phenomena, I'm going to call it. So Johnny's going to kind of spill the beans on the spiritual touchstone just so it kind of makes more sense. So ever since I changed, I've been followed around by, nearest I can figure is an ancestor spirit. And it likes to change around a lot. And primarily it focuses on 2 forms. One of a woman I don't recognize, and one of Great Aunt Clarice.
The one that used to live here, yes?
Yes. As we were coming around in the hall, and I point to the mirror where I saw a 3rd woman who's never appeared herself in the ancestral spirit form. I don't know if it's a second ancestor spirit, or if it's a detached portion of it, or if it could just be a ghost. But I don't see anything in Twilight anytime I see it, and it looked angry at something. I don't know at who or what, but it appeared angry.
Okay.
That being said, I was going to go bother my ancestor spirit.
Do they fill Thornbreaker in on what they learned?
Oh, quick note: Thornbreaker's got a point of willpower back from his touchstone interaction as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we fill you in on what we found. That being said, so Johnny's gonna go by like some natural reflective surface, like a pond or a small body of water, and he's gonna pick up a rock and toss it into his reflection and go, "Wake up."
Okay, so you go out into the garden, the renovated garden, or the still being renovated garden, with the ornamental lake is still a kind of sodden lump of ground, but one of the small ornamental ponds has been cleared out enough that water has collected it from the spring rains. So it's not exactly what you call a beautiful body of water left, but there is enough there for you to do that. As the ripples recoalesce, you are not seeing yourself in the reflection of the sky as you pill over, but you are seeing the woman's face. You're seeing Great Aunt Clarice in the reflection.
All right, and he likes to use. All right, what did we do to trap the kestrel there?
What did we do? It's some works span generations.
I love you.
Many generations. Some works exceed the grasp of one life. But the old ones, the true ones, the divine ones, the totems, they can persist. One spirit's work can endure. What then when you get to the final hurdle? So many lives fleeting. We can endure, but so often we are crushed in the weight of our ambitions and the swift pace of the world, even here where it is perhaps slower and more sedate than other places. And so if we approach the final hurdle and we see a chance to seize it, what price would we pay to be the ones who see the project see the task over its finishing line? The spirits don't know that. They don't know that need. They don't know that ambition. The kestrel would endure. But our lives? How many must be spent on one task? So to be the one who would see it through at the end, that is a heady, alluring mixture. You came after the bifurcation, the fork, the split in blood. And why did the blood split? It came because of contest over that very matter. What must be sacrificed? What must be given up? She would not give you, the future yous, up for that purpose. She would not pay that price. But being asked to pay that price set a festering seed. A willingness to shift the cost. What honor to birth a god in the eyes of some. At the end, faced with the final obstacle, having forged her path forward, then, is there not an irony to turn upon the source of one's resentment and use them as the rung upon the ladder. Be thankful for what she did, though it came much later than the decision that saved you. Because it did save you. As all things are connected. As all times can be as one.
Wait. Are you saying I was supposed to be a sacrifice to this thing at some point?
In perpetuity, in continuity, yes, but not you. Use the many of the line. The potentiality of you would never be. Nor the one before you.
Okay. So what happened to the Kestrel as a consequence of these actions?
In the manner of speaking.
What exactly have we been cultivating? And don't just call it a god.
We cannot know that. We can know what of us was felt. We can know the part we played, but we cannot know things beyond that. We know that we felt adoration and terror. We know we felt desperation and determination. We know we felt ambition, overwhelming ambition, a reach to something greater. We know we sought an ancient thing that stirred in our hearts fervor and fear. And we know we set about this because both task and duty, both ambition and obligation to others. We did this because we were expected to do it. We did this because we revered it. We did this because we wanted it. The question is, what will you do?
Isn't that the question? All right. Later, Auntie.
And you leave the pond. So back in the mansion where people have been cooling down, easing out the aches, or picking over notebooks of Claris's, trying to unpick further details as to what the fuck is on the other side of the glass bridge. Your errant landlord turns up once again.
Landlord.
God, more like a
I don't
slumlord.
charge them rent.
More like a slumlord.
Yeah.
Look at the conditions. Look at these living conditions. I gotta work for my meal. What the hell?
Did you learn anything?
My family's been cultivating whatever that is for generations, near as I can figure. And from what I learned, it looks like... I'm going to assume this goes back to the Second World War, because that's where I can first trace the split. But during the Second World War, there was some sort of a disagreement over this duty. And I'm assuming that's when my grandmother left to go to the States.
Yeah, you don't know much about your grandmother, all things told. This might explain part of it, at least.
I do say that I think that the second woman that I see that looks similar to her is my grandmother. But Clarice didn't keep any records of her after the split happened. I don't even know if she... I'm assuming she was a werewolf if she's showing up in the ancestor spirit. But I don't know if she ever fully inducted herself into the Ivory Claws or not. But the fact that I didn't end up as one says something, I guess. Either she wanted to remove the family from this duty, and maybe that's part of the reason why she left it to me, that she wants this back in the family and she doesn't give a shit if I'm forsaking her pure.
Did she have any children?
Who? Gray and Clarice?
Yeah.
No. Not that no, right, Chris? Not that I'm aware of.
Not that you're aware of, no. Certainly none in the will.
No, none in the will.
Which means plenty.
So is it feasible that you're the only sort of branch of the family left at the moment, being a werewolf?
Pretty good opportunity. Mary's wolf-blooded, but she's never turned. And
Yeah, you're pretty sure there's at least one or two other wolf-blooded in the extended family that you've met, but you're not aware of any werewolves.
Yeah, as far as I know, I'm the only werewolf left in the actual family.
Okay, that would explain why she left this whole thing to a Forsaken.
Whatever it is requires someone of her blood, but who knows? Honestly, spiritual matters were never my strong suit in that regard, so...
I have a theory as to what it might be, but I hope I'm wrong.
Do share.
Do you want me to make an occult roll for this, Chris, or would I know the mythology well enough to know about the male djinn?
What is your occult score?
3.
And sorry, what to know about what? Sorry,
to know about the male djinn, the ancient godlike spirits.
The male djinn are sort of ancient. What exactly the male djinn are is a bit up. You mean the wound lords? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I may be thinking back to first edition. Basically, the old gods that Luna imprisoned.
Oh, that's Idigam, isn't it?
There are
the Idigam, right. That's what I'm thinking.
There's the Idigam, who are the imprisoned monstrosities. There are the male djinn, who are the very still active lords of sin or lords of wounds. The ones who represent corruption of Aratha values and corruption of reality. There are other old gods as well. How many of them are Idigam or not is unclear.
Sure.
And some of them are just pure totems. There are pure totems kicking around who are essentially ancient gods.
Right. So right or wrong, Thornbreaker, because he's very hyper focused on this whole meteor strike, and because he's a true believer, he's pretty sold on the fact that whatever shadow Stormbreaker saw on the other side may be an Idigam that fell to Earth in this meteor, somehow partially freeing itself but stuck between worlds. And so basically that's his suggestion, is this may be an Idigam, and that its power was twisting the Kestrel in some way.
And what Johnny's family for generations is trying to free this Idigam?
If they worship spirits, the Idigam were just very powerful alien-like spirits. I mean, it's certainly possible.
Okay. Theory, I guess.
I mean, think
Jackson.
about it. The Pure reject Father Wolf's duty. They want to bring back Pangaea. What was one of the biggest things Father Wolf did? Policing the spirit world, but to imprison the Idigam that couldn't be controlled.
Jack is going to look at Thornbreaker and deadpan. You watch too much.
Oh, man.
Fucking. Dude, looking at Johnny, dude, what the family into? Why did I come here again? Somebody please explain to me what possessed me to pick up and pack up my life in the States and move all the way to this godforsaken country to deal with your creepy ass family.
To be fair, you didn't move to the Kiss Country to you came to university. What convinced you to come and deal with his creepy family was your loon buddy.
He's blaming the whole thing on Johnny and the fact that somehow Luna directed him into this. And he wants to know what he did to go so wrong to have to deal with this shit.
You don't get to put all the blame on him, amazing atomic astronaut boy.
I tap his chest right where his heart is. You were born wolf-blooded. That's what you did.
Yeah, but why am I friends with you? That's my question. Him, pointing at Bill. Him, I get. Kind of. Maybe. A little bit. But you're nothing but trouble.
Oh, you're friends with me because you're friends with Bill, and Bill is friends with me because a dream told him to come here because there's a chance for glory.
I'm
gonna look at. He's gonna look at.
Oh,
Bill.
you never did.
You
never mind. I'm sorry.
goddamn hippie.
I stand.
And
by
he's gonna
my
turn
decision.
and Jack's actually Sternberger's actually gonna head to the glassworks. And I'm gonna start looking for any shred of evidence that I didn't completely destroy cinders and whatever. Cinders and illumination.
Yeah. So you go there.
Because I like that little dude.
The ephemera of cinders has now completely evaporated because they evaporate. They fade over time. His ephemera has now faded. So you're still looking around for evidence, and to an extent, you won't know unless he's not a very big spirit. So if he's not reformed within a week, he's probably dead for good. But as you're searching around, your Rahu has wandered off to do this. So Stormbringer is alone when this happens because when Stormbringer is alone, you go into the glass and you start looking around, going like, "Where's Cinder?" Looking for this evidence, and then you look down and you feel the shadow crumple under this metaphysical weight of the eye. As this, you look down and just sort of across. As if coming across through intervision round a corner that isn't there, this massive, mad, staring eye blinks you, and you realise that there's something. There's the eye itself. There's more to it than just it's a big staring eye. Yeah, I mean it is a giant staring eye, staring glaucously from across time and space from a reality that doesn't exist. But the colours aren't right. The shape isn't right. It's not a human-like eye, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
It's still round-ish. What you're seeing, the round pupil, the round iris. Although the iris the shape is a cascade of colours going from blues out to mad yellow in a striations that squirm and shift even into patterns that form tesseracts for a moment. But it is not you're pretty sure it is not meant to be a very big human eye that is staring at you. And it stares at you and locks gazes. And you feel that sense of a yawning gulf beneath you through reality itself. But unlike last time where you had that, it blinked through madly and the connection happened, there is no connection. This time, it is watching you. You feel that strange sense, like last time, of perspective is reality. So by being watched, you are there's a yawning sense of your own perspective shifting, but you don't sort of plug into this thing. Rather, you become. It's like the sense of being watched. That unnerving thing just tripled, quadrupled up. Disorientation. Your eyes ache, but they don't explode. But you know, deep in your bones, that this time, unlike last time, which you're not really sure what triggered it, this time it is looking at you specifically. You are the focus that it wants to see. And so for a moment, this thing observes you, and then you feel the shivering point between flesh and shadow, as if no longer able to quite bear the weight of this, springing back, and it's trying not to be sprung back. And this feels very much like what happened with the Kestrel, using you as a route back and forth, but this thing is trying to get a purchase in reality, and then it loses its grip and the eye is no longer there.
Jack is going to literally just stand there and stare at the floor in disbelief. Why does all this weird shit happen to me? Particularly when I'm alone.
Oh yeah, there's no evidence of this moment.
Exactly.
Could merely be the fevered ravings of a madman.
The guy who just ripped his chest. Yeah, no, that this jives.
We have been unnervingly trusting of his accounts. Like, no, that tracks.
Jack is secretly a bailhound.
That's exactly it. I'm actually your great aunt Clarice. I just didn't want to tell you.
There you go.
Yeah. So Jack is going to stand there for a little bit in kind of disbelief. I think he's going to shrug and go, well, that's not the weirdest thing that's happened in the past 24 hours. And he's going to start crafting something in glass in hopes to kind of coax Cinders and Illumination back to life, because I missed that little.
Oh.
Okay.
Aw, he's your buddy.
So
he's also going to feed the little glass cleaning spirit.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to assume that the pack are basically going to kind of bunker down for today to deal with the aftermath of all this and regain your footing and plan what you're going to do next, right?
Yeah. I think Johnny was going to try to see if he can make a jaunt over to see if he can find either Bereave or Heart and Throat.
I'll say if you're going to see the Reeve, I'm with.
I would actually like to reach out to the Blood Talons. I'd like to reach out to Law Speaker.
Do you mean Linebreaker?
Linebreaker, that's the one.
Yeah, him. That one.
That's
I
my
was
guy.
looking for the name. I didn't get to it in time. Linebreaker, that's the one.
I like that guy so much, I forgot what his name was.
Yeah.
So Thornbreaker is planning to have a chat with the Blood Talons. Johnny and Stormbringer are planning to go and have a chat with the Fear Spirits. Harmonious Flame, where are you going to assign yourself?
I find everyone that when they talk to the werewolves, they should also ask about Hawkhurst, because any information we can get about him is gonna help us defeat him.
That's exactly why I'm reaching out to him. You can join me if you want to.
Good. In that
Thornbreaker says I'm going to reach out to Linebreaker to talk to him about Hawkhurst and see what they know, if they've made any deals with him, what the situation is.
Good. In that case, I'll and you guys, if you're gonna go talk to spirits, it would be good if you ask about Hawkhurst as well. He might be known by the spirits as... Checking my notes.
Well,
The Architect or the Scourge.
We're going to be talking with the Fear Spirits we interacted with earlier.
Yeah, they didn't tell us much last time, but maybe now we know slightly more about Hawkhurst. Maybe they can tell us more.
More like I want to know. Hawkhurst is using the Fear Spirits in Gleesham as a means of surveillance, I think. And I don't think hiding from those spirits through conventional means is going to help. So I want to see if maybe they can clue me in on a way to... It would be easier to move around Gleesham and plot against Hawkhurst if he didn't know we were doing it, is my point.
Able to set up a boundary ward like me as well. It would be trivial for me to know that there are werewolves in an area or entering an area. So it doesn't necessarily mean spirits tell him.
It's possible. I did also, after he was done in the coffee shop with you guys, I did see a caravan of Fear Spirits following him. And throughout the Shadow of Gleesham, I do see these masked spirits. Again, you're not wrong. I'm familiar with the gift you're speaking about. But I want to at least play every angle I can.
Okay, that's probably a good idea.
Hey, Chris.
Yep.
Jack is just really quick. Jack is going to rack his brain, and I don't know what the appropriate thoughts. Maybe come up with an idea, but I'm just thinking about it. He's more concerned with getting in contact with the architect is now in the back of his mind, like whatever this thing that totally took over his body. It's like that's kind of what's the forefront. Because unfortunately, Jack is a little bit. Whatever the closest danger to me is what I'm going to assess and take out first. And considering is how the Kestrel attacked him directly, and Hawkhurst is more of just an annoyance at this point. I'm going to deal with that. What would be the first step logically to him to maybe do more research into the Kestrel and the totem spirit? I'm trying to think if there are resources that a werewolf would know that I'm just not there.
Well, I mean, you have obviously you can spend more time going through the Great Aunt's library and trying to find any more notes on the spirit in that. But outside of that, the obvious thing to do is ask other local spirits about the Kestrel. It was essentially the ruling spirit over this area for some time, due to the Pure Pack operating here, possibly hundreds of years even. So local spirits have to know, well, more entrenched, longer-lasting local spirits probably know at least something about it. Now, how much they'll be willing to tell you or able to tell you, is questionable. But certainly the first place to find out more about the Kestrel is to ask the spirits, certainly.
Okay. All right, so then talking to the fear spirits is probably a good start.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So that's probably what we'll start with. We'll start with Johnny and Stormbringer going to have a chat with some friendly spirits.
On our jaunt to speak to the storm spirit, to the fear spirits. I'm sorry. I'm going to fill Johnny in on the eye activity.
Speaking of which, how are you going to go into the shadow and go sort of trolling around for them? You usually encounter them on between the town and the estate. There is in the shadow and in the real world. There's a path. In the shadow, it's sort of the one safe path through the feuding fields. Is the same place you've encountered them before. So are you just going to go for that wander and see if you run into the fear spirits, or do you have a specific you want to hunt?
We've run into them in Twilight a number of times before.
Yeah, I was going to go with the Twilight route too.
Okay, so you're gonna.
Yeah, I'm gonna just flat out admit it. It's a little Stormberg is a little unsure about entering the spirit right now after everything that happened. He's not sure what exactly lasting effects there are in the spirit with the Kestrel, and doesn't want to make himself an easy target to come back.
Okay, so you start on your jaunt, across in the flesh, in the real world, between the rolling fields, the cattle, and the smell of the freshly turned earth, the grinding grumble of large, heavy tractors turning the fields, and explain to Johnny that you've encountered the eye again. How does Johnny react to this?
Hey, you still got your eyes.
I know, right? Did something right. But I'm gonna try to explain to him that it's kind of like exactly how the Kestrel got out into our world. That whatever this eye belongs to, it's trying to do this.
Is there,
or at least that's what it felt like.
Is there some sort of maliciousness behind it that you're feeling, or is it just like a desperation to be free?
No idea on the first. Yes.
That's troublesome.
Your weird ass family. Your weird ass family.
My weird ass land.
No, I'm gonna blame this one. Clarice was feeding this.
That I can say she definitely was. I'm not keen on freeing another occult horror onto the world right now.
Why does everybody assume that the Kestrel was a horror? It was a totem spirit, dude. It was a powerful totem spirit. Who says it's a horror? Who knows? Maybe it likes me because I did something good. I don't know.
So I'm going to describe the Kestrel to him the way I saw it. If it came out looking fine, I would just call it a powerful spirit, but it looked wrong for a spirit.
Well, let's trap you in a glass box for months on end with something that's burning you alive and tell me how you come out. Yeah, he might be a little fucked up. Get over it.
Yeah, and it's a peer totem.
Your point?
My point being is I think it got turned into a maggot, and that's insanity for a spirit. It shouldn't exist. Any other spirit would call it a horror too. It might need to be
fear
put down.
of how your flesh and soul can be subverted is so very key to your experience, is it not? The creeping dread has sort of appeared from in the shadows of the hedge. This spirit's big, but somehow it is pacing up behind you without warning. You travel once again to the glass nest.
Jack is going to kind of shrug.
This time.
Jack is going to kind of shrug. Hey, what's up? He doesn't jump at its normal thing because he's seen some shit now.
Yes.
little trifles about people popping up on him don't scare him anymore. That's not the worst thing that could happen, and he knows it. Well, my buddy over here had some questions for you, and so do I.
The Lord of Gleesham courts many of your choir as servants or slaves.
Is that what you think?
I've seen your choir and I've seen his choir. Your choir has masks that seem like they can be removed. His seem like they're forcibly attached to them.
What if I told you that the one you feud with doesn't even really know that those spirits exist? Certainly doesn't control them.
But then you don't control them either.
Jack's going to kind of slap his forehead because something made sense.
Then why do they follow him and show him reverence?
It is, of course, it is correct to admire those things of your world that feed us so well, that sustain us, that are the truths of us. But they do not revere him, and they do not serve him.
They feed on the fear he creates.
By George, I think he's got it.
Anyway. My point being...
The question is not who lies behind the mask, but who put the mask there. That is what defines the nature of a masquerade. Take the rich and wealthy and powerful gathered together in their excess, wallowing in their own fears of not having all the things that they have, gathered behind masks that they themselves have placed there in the games they play. Is it not different to a gathering of those who have nothing, brought together because they fear having even less, but given plied with riches and drinks and masks placed upon their faces to dance the tune and serve as the party for someone else who wishes to see them such? Is it not the nature of the person, of the one who commands the masquerade, the one who births the masquerade, the one who gives it life, that matters, not the one who wears the mask? Or perhaps I am wrong.
I don't think there's another layer to this. Okay.
the architect, the fear maker, he feeds such a rich broth to those who pay attention. Many of you do that.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that last one?
Many of you do that.
So what
But
you're telling
not-
me is you have no allegiance, aside from the fact that it feeds.
I have...
Or your kind.
I am forbidden to say.
Forbidden by what?
I am forbidden to say.
What are you allowed to say?
I am attempting to tell you all I can. But you need to ask the right questions, wolves.
So,
So who do you serve?
I serve the land of tumbled little stones. I am the Reeve, after all. I serve the greater whole of this land.
So then you serve the greater good of the land.
I certainly think so. Fear is important. It matters. Without fear, you are nothing. Your people are nothing but lolloping hounds feeding themselves into lethal situations. But though I serve that power, that does not mean it is the only one I am beholden to.
So who else are you beholden?
Spirit of Gleesham?
Where is the spirit of Gleesham? I do not know.
It may have just been let out of the box. What is the spirit of Gleesham?
The spirit of the Glass Nest, the spirit of the town, the urban soul of Gleesham. I do not know where it is. Where it is
What
gone.
is it? When was it last seen? You're a Reeve. You investigate things, do you not?
I investigate what I can.
Where have you gotten? Where have you left off?
What could take the spirit of a town? What could take the urban soul of a place and take it away? Destruction would not be enough. If it was slain, it would be reborn, or a new child of the town would be forged from its body. What could take a spirit? What could take this town's soul away and keep it away?
How big was
As big as the town and as small as a brick. Often, it walked the place in a form much like yours, though wrought of the town itself.
Did it have eyes? Traditional eyes. Not human necessarily, but of similar shape, structure.
Its eyes were windows, its eyes were the gleam of door handles, its eyes were the fumes of the chemical ponds beneath torn cliffs, slopes where men and women laboured and lost so much of themselves. Its eyes were the reflections of the town in many forms.
When was it last?
By your reckoning, no, by human reckoning, maybe from birth to adulthood.
What?
15 to 20 years, give or take.
However it is that you reckon such things.
So 18 years on average, probably.
That it disappeared, or that it was last seen.
Mm-hmm.
How long has the architect been in town?
Longer than that. But as I said, the architect leads no masquerade of my kind.
So, who actually...
Does he wear a mask? Don't you all? You hybrids?
I guess you could say this is a mask right now. All right. So
We're not vampires.
who placed the mask? Lon. If it wasn't you, and if it wasn't Hawkhurst, suggest that there's a third entity at work.
The third of you three, although now you've four or three, it is not clear yet. But the third of you, he tastes of a deeper palate of fear than you do. What worries his mind? What has he dreamt of? He dreams, does he not?
He hasn't said.
Perhaps it is something he fears.
Perhaps.
And you, bringer of storms, you said you had a question for me.
What can you tell me of the cat?
Ah, the old bird. Its children, the kestrel's children, served it for a very long time indeed. But that is the way of many of their kind in this land. They are bound to old spirits of the place. Spirits that reflect the landscape itself, like the kestrel. Its birth is before my time, but much of its life in these latter times I have seen. It's a fierce, terrible, some would say noble thing. Its shadow spread fear in its wake. Fear is good. Heart in throat would wax lyrical of its qualities. For me, its presence was best known through the taste of people's fear that it might come. For it was strong and wrathful, but precise in its wrath, delivering its judgment exactly as it chose to. It ruled here, make no mistake. It ruled.
You used that in the past.
This.
Why?
There is no ruler here now. The kestrel is gone.
About that.
Perhaps not. What was its rule like?
In latter times, that of a lord, it demanded its due, and the shadow provided it, as was right, for it held that position. It was wrathful but precise, as I said, not one to be trifled with. All feared it, as was right. It began to change as its children fell one by one. It did not become weak, but it became less. Its dominion over the land frayed. Its power over the land frayed. Were they killed one by one because they were faced with enemies, or was it simply the erosion of all that your kind build that will come for all of you? I do not know. But in time, it withdrew from its tyranny in the skies. Oh, Stormer, we're getting a lot of stuff through the background for you.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. It withdrew from its power. It withdrew to its roost. It spent much of its time there or at your lair, what is now your lair. It became obsessed with something, focused on something. Even for a Lord of Shadow. It saw perhaps a way out of what had befallen it, whatever that was. It saw a way forward from whatever fate it felt it was consigned to, and it threw itself into that.
Where was its nest?
Its nest beneath the great bell. where now the Hrafnir lair. The old war spirits took to its roost after it had vanished, thinking themselves to claim a prized point.
When did you last check on her?
I tend not to concern myself with their matters. They are fat parasites disconnected from the shadow around them, after all. They feed on the continuation of old tithes that no longer concern them.
Well, it may become a concern for a new home soon.
I will keep watch for such tumult.
Somebody may or may not have let the kestrel out.
Well, I would want to thank that person, for it will surely spread fear through even the shadow, and doubtless in the flesh thereafter.
Yeah. A little bit. A little bit.
Are you content with my answers, those who claim this land?
One question before I go. I don't like being able to be seen, and conventional means of hiding, I don't think, work on your kind. Those fear spirits here serve someone other than you, someone that I want to ally myself with. They're reporting to someone that I don't want them to know what I'm doing. How do I hide myself from your kind?
How do you blind fear? Oh, well, why would I wish to tell you how to conceal yourself from me?
Because I want to help you. You have no love for the architect, and neither do we. And neither does Hardened Throat. It's a matter of convenience.
I can't hide them from you. I can't hide you from them forever. But I could conceal you for a short time. Were I to do so, it would be an act I could not walk back, and the consequences would be visited upon me sooner rather than later. So, it would have to be something I was well rewarded for, and that you made the most of. An opportunity not to be wasted.
Got it. Alright. So it's not a favor I can use all the time. Alright. So when we're ready, we'll work out an arrangement.
If we're all still here by then.
I'm good. Stormbringer?
It has been, as always, a pleasure.
Be seeing you.
Of course. He looks at Stormbringer. Yes. Certainly be seeing you. Sight. Yes, sight. Seeing. So as if sniffing the air slightly. And then shakes itself slightly as if doing its wits again, and then pads away. So, Harmonious Flame and Thornbreaker on the phone to the Spear Wardens, specifically Linebreaker. Thornbreaker, meet Linebreaker. Both of you got Breaker in your name, that means you're best buds, right?
Best buds.
So,
Bloodhounds for life!
They're actually family. Breaker is
they're part of the Breaker family, yeah.
Breaker is the surname.
He's Thorn, he's Line, yeah. They weren't very creative with their names.
We all got cool names, except for our cousin, Circuit Breaker.
So anyway, the phone crackers life as you ring through, and you hear Linebreaker on the line. Yes, this is. He says, yeah, "This is Bill from Gleesham, right?"
Or, yes, Bill.
Good. Well, glad. It's good to hear from you. What ails you to this day? What ails you this day?
I would like to meet with you if possible to speak about local issues.
We're a little busy, but if you need a confidential chat, that can be arranged shortly. I won't be able to come in person.
Please, yes.
Very well. Wait for a few seconds, please. There is an odd noise on the line that sounds somewhat like a demented modem going in reverse. And yes, the spirits have secured this line. We may
Perfect.
speak without worry.
It's good to speak to you, Linebreaker. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, well, I am interested to hear what you have to say.
We've recently started making strides to grow our pack. I've got with me on the line Harmonious Flame. She's our newest addition.
Hello.
Hello there, Harmonious Flame. You don't sound like another American.
Oh no, I'm not.
I see. He sounds relieved.
I'm not gonna take that personally. We sought to annex another member of our pack, a wolf-blooded girl, only to find that there was an unnatural spiritual claim to her. We've managed to trace it to Corley Hawkhurst. How much do you know of him?
The name rings a bell. Occultist of some sort, an acquaintance of Clarice Galloway, but I'm afraid I don't recall much more than that off the top of my head.
We've been
He's a ghost wolf.
He's a ghost wolf, yeah.
I see. I was not aware of that.
In any case, we've been setting about trying to purge some of the old wolf's pure influence on the territory. Only to learn that she had deals in place with Hawkhurst and that he's been doing things that may be perverting the local spiritual landscape. Because we are still relatively new to these lands, I was wondering what knowledge you might have about the disappearance of the spirit of Gleesham.
I wasn't aware the spirit of Gleesham had disappeared. I mean, let me rephrase that. If you'd simply asked me, I would have certainly assumed that the town had a spirit, but I have never interacted with that spirit myself, and I would have presumed it would be in hock to the old wolf, certainly. If it's disappeared, that's news to me, and it's not particularly good news. It means there's a spiritual vacuum in the town of control or authority over its urban reflection. It can be useful to decapitate a spirit ecology like that sometimes if you need to pacify a troublesome area of the shadow. But since you obviously have no knowledge of that, it seems. Since you have no knowledge as to why you are not the perpetrators, it therefore is a problem rather than an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, someone else presumably, if it is done with wit or intent, it means someone else has purposefully opened a hole in the hierarchy.
I also wanted to give you a friendly heads up that the Kestrel has returned.
I suppose it was just a matter of time. Has it threatened you already? Sought to make war with you? Does it have new followers?
Not yet that we know of. We are
And
attempting
then
to.
it is at least adhering to some of the old agreements. Then
Yes, we're attempting to monitor the situation, but as with many things, we admittedly are playing catch up.
it was a powerful spirit, and it's been embedded there for a very long time through the Ivory Claw families. I wouldn't expect it to take lightly your lodging in what it may see as its nest.
By the way, do you know how to break a pack bonding on someone?
Well, I mean, that depends. The fact you're asking me this is something surprised me. I mean, break out. If someone simply wishes to leave a pack, they know that truth in them. That truth becomes reality, and they leave the pack. If you want to kick someone out, it can be done via the aid of the totem. Some packs use rights that latch onto the echoes of an existing pack bond. If someone has betrayed a pack, for example, there are ways to excoriate or scourge them for it. But normally, leaving a pack is as simple as walking away from it in your soul as you do physically.
Our problem is that the pack is headed not by a spirit but by another werewolf. He set himself up as a totem. And we don't know if the pack bond will therefore work normally.
You have a bigger problem than just breaking a pack bond, then.
I mean, yes, but this particular problem relates to someone we care about, and we would wondering if there is a fast way of.
You're saying that there is a werewolf who is sorry. You're saying the werewolf who is the taken is the totem of the pack. Is essentially the totem of the pack.
Yeah.
Who is in this pack?
We don't know. Humans, wolf-blooded.
Right. That is deeply unnatural. I've heard a few stories about them before, but I have never encountered one that's done it. It's a violation of the pack bond, how it's supposed to work. You have is this? Oh, you said Hawkhurst was a ghost wolf. Is he the head of this pack then?
Yes.
Okay. The problem. I've heard of these witches before. They're werewolves who exploit our spiritual nature, but twisted in ways it's not supposed to be twisted. Obviously, the pure are armed with a horrific armory of occult power, of eldritch powers, but these are. I mean, I scarcely call them werewolves. Really, they're twisting our own nature to use in ways it's not supposed to be used, and in doing so, they enslave people. And they bind them to them, and different stories that I've heard ascribe different capabilities, but if you attempt to go after him, you will almost certainly have to go through his pack first, whether you want to or not, because if you harm him... I heard there's a story in... from out of London I heard recently. They encountered a wolf leading a pack of homeless men. I don't know all the details, but as to why they went to war with this wolf, but they killed him. They thought they killed him several times. They tried to use subtle methods. They didn't want to get embroiled in a literal street battle with his bunch of homeless men in the streets of London. I mean, it wasn't going to look good however you cut it, right? So they attempted to murder him quietly. They firstly stuck a silver knife through it into his backbone. Later on, I believe they tried to shoot him with a rifle from a distance. Every time they did that, one of his followers died, not him. I've
Oh.
heard of a French wolf as well in the south of France. There was a very powerful coven of wolf witches down there that the local blood hunters to go war with, and they reported that these witches had human followers who, whenever they could, through the warped version of the pack bond, they were simply shuttling the powers, the rights, and the occult powers that they wielded off onto their followers. They tried to curse them, they tried to hex them, they tried to damn them with a dozen different magics, and it simply slid off them like water. And instead, the humans were the scapegoats for the curses and dooms that fell on them instead. Depending on if this ghost wolf is relatively fresh to what he's doing, then he may not have mastered any such capabilities. He may be relatively. You may merely have to deal with a devoted band of people who think he is their rightful lord and master. If he's been able to dig in for some time, it increases the likelihood that he will wield greater capabilities than that.
He is not fresh. He's been here at least 20 years.
Yes. We mostly call them tyrants because of what they do to humans. It's not just the nature of the wealth they're perverting, it's the nature of humanity itself that feeds the corruption from the other end. They break people. They expose humans to the darkest or worst parts of what humans are, and they use that as the anchor for their power.
So, is there any way we can break off his pack from him before we start trying to kill him?
I don't know for sure. I don't know how the London situation finished. In France, in the French story I heard, the witches had a number of spiritual allies, and the Blood Talons went after those allies, split them apart from the allies, cornered the witches in the shadow when they were far from their human acolytes, and killed them there.
Okay. Do you know of anyone who might have greater knowledge of these things in the area?
In the area, it's not very likely. No, you could. The London packs might, possibly the Bristol packs, but I'll be honest. Around here, no. The other packs aren't. Outside here on Cranbourne Chase, you'll find here is where we. The greatest expertise in fighting other werewolves is found in my pack, Shaftesbury and Cranbourne Chase. The other packs know what we do or less. In the Vale itself, well, the Fairfax dogs don't exactly do a lot of hunting of the people, shall we say.
I'm going to activate Voice of Glory to try to persuade him to lend a hand here. It's going to be manipulation plus persuasion 2 plus 3 plus 5. One success, I'm going to say, I know you've heard secondhand stories, but do you have any interest in being able to claim that you've faced one of these tyrants and definitively found a way to defeat those of us who are oath breakers who deny the natural ways?
I certainly have an interest in knowing more about what he's capable of and how he can be put down. I need to warn you that we are at, as I said, we're at war on Cranbourne Chase already. Our bodies and our efforts are put to extensive work on the flank of the hill.
What if we were to help you with your war?
If you are willing to promise your freshly established pack to the front lines, when you have a territory that, by your own words, is compromised, I feel that would be an unwise offer for me to accept. There may be more we can do to help you, but I'm not going to throw bodies into your problem right now. We have our own. And if you throw your bodies into ours for some quid pro quo, I fear your problems at home will grow even larger in the meantime.
That is fair.
If you're going to fight a werewolf, especially one who's been there for some time, there may be more we can do to help you, but just be aware for now that he will likely have considerably more tricks up his sleeve than any of you do. A werewolf embedded in a place, you can assume he will know where and when you are entering territory. If he has bound himself, if he has marked himself with gifts from spirits, secrets, and boundaries, he is likely to have learned the secrets of the local landscape and community spirits as well. Even if he is a ghost wolf, is not perhaps completely understanding of what he's getting, he will be girded with a great deal of power. Power related to the people and place he lives in. The other thing to do is watch for any fetishes he has. But don't presume you can easily take him in a straight fight. Ghost wolves don't live as long as he seems to have done by fighting in straight... What you think is a straight fight may not be. Assume he will stack the deck as much as he can before you get even a sniff of a straight-up fight with him.
Yeah.
They're survivors. And how long has this one survived? This Hawkhurst? He's been there a while, if what we say is correct.
Yeah, about 20 years, maybe more, who knows.
Then he is a survivor by excellence, especially if he's done it under the nose of the pure. Assume that if he encounters any of you alone, he can and will kill you.
Ha.
If you face him down, and otherwise, if you face him down with more strength, assume that he will do everything he can to have already equalized that battle. Take nothing for granted, especially because you can't be sure what capabilities he will have due to what he's done with his pack. And honestly, if he is a very large, significant threat and you need it done, and you need it done quickly, firstly, prepare to wade through blood. Secondly, use silver. It is not a recommendation I feel at ease giving you. But you may find that you can't afford to give him any breathing room if it comes down to that. If you're willing to take that step, if you're willing to burden your soul with sin, sometimes it is better to wear that so that others don't have to.
Understood.
The reason why I suggest this is because he's a ghost wolf. If you bring silver to war with the pure, they will bring it back. But one ghost wolf does not have... The repercussions will be more limited.
Understood. I appreciate your help, Linebreaker. And though we cannot, as you said, offer bodies for the fight just yet, know that we come to you in friendship and we're here for you should you call.
It will be appreciated when the time comes. As I said, there may be more we can do to help you, but that will depend on what happens. Fight well.
And you.
And he ends the call.
Wow, that was very discouraging. So we can't even attack him, or else we might hurt Jenny.
Unless we can get him in the shadow and far away from her and the others.
I have some contacts. I have some friends in a lodge that deals with information. I'll see if I can get in contact with them. Maybe they know more about tyrants. and how to break their pack bond.
Good.
Okay. On that note, we're going to take a brief break to buy a break, grab drinks, etc. before we come back for the last part of today's session. So freshen yourselves up, rehydrate, and we will continue shortly.
Yes. See you guys very shortly. All right. Just waiting on the few others to return. How's everybody in chat doing today? I know we saw some people before, Varg Helsing, Optimus Prime, Shara. How you guys doing? Hopefully enjoying your weekends.
I can't be the only one who's made a little nervous by Chris thumbing through books, can I?
Hey there, Driftwood. You did miss the beginning. We typically start on Saturdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is GMT minus 5. But all of our sessions end up going up to the Paleo Gaming YouTube page, so you can catch up there.
I was kind of fixated that Chris has got an Ocarina of Time shirt on.
I was not concerned with that. I was concerned with the fact that he's thumbing through a book.
Yeah, I was just reminding myself how the context merit works. That's all.
Yeah. Well, you want to re-roll that deception there, roll, buddy? Because I know
Especially
better.
allies.
It was allies you got one sec.
Yeah, so Driftwood, just to catch up a little bit, most of the beginning of the session has been... yes, there is special magic to catching the session live, I agree. Just to let you know what you sort of missed so far, it's mostly been dealing with the aftermath of what happened last chapter with the freeing of the Kestrel, trying to figure out what that weird void space that Stormbringer traveled to on his hallucinogenic journey, and seeing what the spirits think about Hawkhurst a little bit, and what the Spear Wardens think about Hawkhurst. So that's what you missed so far.
Yeah, sorry. There's just been a wailing child, so I was just trying to subdue, I think, and figure out what's going on. Yes.
My fault.
I'm gonna just deal with when I expect we'll deal with her attempt to use her allies' merit to get more information, and then we will move forward with the whole pack gathering back together, because I think the pack, after meeting with the Reeve, are planning to just toddle back again. The two who are out on reconnoiter, and I just saw the baby whip past the door, high speed.
Yep.
Sorry about this. We're just okay. Well, in the meantime, then, while Harmonious Flame is off trying to contact her allies. Oh no, she's back. Okay, she has returned. So, how many dots in the relevant ally do you have, Ag?
It's just 1 dot.
1 dot. Okay. So just a little information grab. This is a 1 dot favor then, and it'll be the one for the, I can't remember if it's chapter or story that you trigger it. So further uses of it, you require a roll to get more out of, or higher things. And so you this was the Lodge of Scrolls. Yeah. I don't know if you guys can hear the shrieking of small children in the background. Yeah. Sorry about that. Sorry, listeners. They're small and excitable.
It's mini
I was like recollecting my thoughts. You reach out to Lodge of Scrolls via a series of encrypted websites and follow-ons from fora, disguised posts and like, and you find your way to the relevant the little wall, the electronic walled garden in which the Lodge of Scrolls, one of the Lodge of Scrolls' many electronic drop sites that are intended for them dealing with outsiders, which is what you are. You don't get access to the real secrets of the lodge, but they know you because they have had the dealings with you in the past. And you put in your request of what if, how do we deal with a ghost wolf tyrant? You describe the symptoms. It doesn't take long for you to get responses. Now, a few sort of gathered ones from a few different sources that have been compiled together. it's not the most helpful set of responses ever, because the Lord of Scrolls principally focus on hunting humans, not ghost wolves. But because this kind of ghost wolf does involve human shenanigans and bullshit, a few people that have come across similar things in the past. They one thing is that depending on the nature, it varies between ghost wolf to ghost wolf, witch to witch. These are always unique, so exactly what their capacities will be hard to tell without you experimenting, which obviously can rack up bodies. Your enemy, your prey might not be able to to cause harm to the pack instead of himself, or he might, and it'd be hard to tell what the range on that is without finding it out by trying to murder him. But obviously that tends to involve the problems of trying to murder a guy and the dead bodies that appear if he is, and if it doesn't, you might solve your problem quickly. But a lot of scrolls like to take a more cerebral tack. One does have a story of a werewolf in Chicago, apparently something similar, which went down where he had enthralled a bunch of humans, and they called him the Sculptor because what he did was he absolutely obsessed over people, like he collected them like you would trinkets, or sort of preyed on them. Gathered them into the pack, would sculpt likenesses of them because they caught his attention, something about how they looked, and then inevitably would sooner or later kill them because he would fly into a rage and grow disquieted with some way that they were not actually perfect, or the sculptor work was imperfect. It was because they were imperfect, and then he'd death rage and kill them. However, one thing he did was that his followers would try and placate him by finding new prey for him to obsess over, so that he would expend his rage on others, not him. So he was basically a serial killer with a bunch of complicit humans who were terrified to step out of line because they thought they would be next if they didn't feed him new victims. How that was apparently dealt with, the Logi Scrolls adherent, who you don't know what their name is, it's one of the listings on this, says, is that they took everything he had piece by piece. They took apart the pack by going after the humans, taking the humans away from him, and essentially some they killed, some they said, this adherent says basically these kind of werewolves gather broken and vulnerable people around them. So from what he heard in Chicago, they tried to fix the people. So some of them they tried to make no longer prey for the werewolf by making them no longer broken people it could prey on. Others they killed. And after eventually stripping away everything this werewolf had, they torched his home, they took away all his pack members, they broke all his sculpture, they found the things he obsessed over and they broke them or took them away to make him even more irrational. Then they basically executed him once they'd stripped him of everything he had and cornered him.
So what they are saying is the way to sort of break the pack bonding is to make the person no longer be target demographic, as it were.
They don't know for sure, but they're suggesting that something like that might help to break the connection. One thing they're very clear about the wealth in question, it was, and a few other mentions of such, involve absolute obsession on the part of the wealth due to them breaking themselves by making themselves a totem. They make themselves spirit-like in their obsessions, and that's something that might be exploitable, but But that's as much as you get from a one-dot favor from the Lodge of Scrolls, who don't even hunt ghost wolves.
Okay, cool. That is still a bit useful. So I think them, of course, if they need a favor back in return, then I'm here, etc., etc. And then I go back to the rest.
So the pack gathered once again in the mansion, all together once more.
Do we all give our exposition?
I'm going to presume that happens unless anyone has something specific that they wouldn't want to, but
Perfect.
I don't think anything came up like that. So,
No.
So when Harmonious Flame mentions that, tyrants tend to find broken people, he says, Jenny absolutely fits that bill. She's been struggling for so long with her abilities and feeling like an outsider. So it sounds to me like one way to break this bond is to essentially rehabilitate her.
Yes, basically. Make her not feel like she's weird or cursed or whatever. if she can accept herself and her powers as she is, like we accept ourselves as the dual nature beings that we are, then it is likely she will be able to break the pact bond by herself.
Why don't we show her how weird we are?
Oh boy.
I think she has some clue already.
Yeah,
She did.
but
Excuse me, Bill.
He turns and he says, "Call me Bill one more time."
Say something crazy like that one more time. Let's see what happens. You want to do what now?
Show her that you can call the rain. We'll let her be around us a little more when we change shape. Let her feel like part of the pack if we want to make her part of the pack. We are all weird. That's okay.
Is it sunny?
Yeah, it's sunny, bright, sunny spring day.
How far into Oath of the Moon violation are we going with the herd?
She's part of the pack. Well, she will be.
She's a warlord, so it doesn't break the Oath of the Moon to tell her.
Really extremist about the Oath of the Moon, and there are some people out there who are like, "Well, it must not know, even if they can turn into elves themselves."
Right.
Someday.
Look, Thornbreaker, you could tell her some of our legends and stories. Tell her the history of our people. I'll try to convince her that what she is genetics. It's nothing weird. It's not curse. Because basically it is.
He looks expectantly at Johnny. What's your special talent?
Hiding.
Ouch.
I'm here. Now I'm here. Now I'm here.
You know, if I miss a bus, I can get myself on the bus with no problem. That's a talent.
So what you're telling me is you're an expert commuter. I look Thornbreaker. Why do we keep this idiot around again?
Because he's an expert commuter.
Got it. Somebody needs to have a day job in the circus. Bingo.
Then you're living here rent free.
He's our landlord.
I don't know what the rents are here, but I doubt.
While we're at it, I think Mary is deep enough down this rabbit hole that maybe we can show her a thing or two also. I sort of feel like we owe it to her. Given how much we ask her to clean up our messes.
Yeah. Fair. So, Chris, what time of day is it in game?
You're into the afternoon at this point.
Time for a little rain.
The only thing that Johnny was going to do was, I think he was going to go, I don't know if he had a really good chance, but he wants to check out the barrow mound where the Kestrel freed itself. It went there for a reason. He doesn't know. He thinks maybe there's some more occulty things going on there than what we really quickly ran into. So he's going to head.
I was going to say, since you're a super stealthy boy and you don't have flashy magic tricks to pull out for Jenny, maybe it makes sense for you to go do some scouting.
Yes. I'm gonna do my fancy magic scouting.
We really need to do more general scouting of this area. We need to know what we sit on before we start bringing in spirit allies.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so Johnny's going to dash off and do that while the rest are going. While as soon as Johnny's gone, or shortly afterwards, we'll get to this because Mary's going to pop up in a moment. So, but we'll just do with Johnny first.
The cops show up again, boys.
Up the hill, up the muddy paths between fields and woodlands, and up to the top of the hill, where you can get these beautiful views down across the vale. You can see the Cornwall Hill line, which is the one you're on, sort of running sort of south, west to northeast, and the barrow itself. So, can I have a Wits plus investigation roll, sort of nosing over this place, trying to, teasing.
Did I have a? I'm sorry. Did I have a meaning interaction with my spirit touchstone earlier, or did that not count?
Yes, you did. That'll give you a point of the old vintage willpower.
I'm going to take advantage of that. Four successes.
Okay, so you search the place. Obviously, it is an old mound. You don't know the exact dating, but the things you find inside, one of the things you note while nosing around, is that there's a lot of avian iconography carved into the stone, and a lot of it's very damaged by the ages, very eroded away. But in various places, intermixed with well, there wouldn't be a written language. Yeah, there is a lot of avian iconography carved into the stone. There is.
I know, but can I have something else?
There's something else while you're in here. You expect, basically, this place has been archaeologicalized, as it were. People are coming here with little trowels and they've dug all the shit out. They've taken the bones out. You think probably. So while it has been. It's very respectfully preserved. You imagine the bones inside the tombs, etc., just aren't there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Except that you're nosing around, sniffing, and there is a lingering smell. There's a scent in here coming from in the earth, and it is a scent of something otherly. You can't quite place it. It's almost not alive. You don't think it's alive, but there's something vital about it. There is a scent permeating up out of the earth, very faint, as if very trace or buried. That is tingling your nose with. It's stirring your senses in a way you've never experienced before. Part of your you get the scent, and it starts firing neurons that aren't scent connected. Rather, they are spiritual, or part of your essence flows. It's like if you imagine the Welf's body and essence flows are a machine, like an engine, like a car engine, ready to go. And when you're running at full on the hunt, you're at full, everything's going. And currently you're just resting. It's like the engine's trying to turn over just from this scent, like the bits of the machinery is trying to kickstart.
Well,
it's confused. It's really weird, sort of slight jumble, but something's going on.
Well, curiosity killed the cat. Good thing I'm not a cat. So Johnny's gonna go digging.
Okay.
I guess.
So we'll leave Johnny digging his own grave. I mean, doing
oh God,
some completely okay experimentation. Back in the mansion, shortly after Johnny left for his little excursion, you guys are sitting down there planning what you're doing next. When Mary comes down, expression on her face you haven't seen before, because not we've seen her look at it, but a focused determination, slight. Not fear, but uncertainty bounded up with, I've pulled the lever, this is all the point where the brakes are off this train and she might as well go through with this anyway. She comes down, but scrutinizes very carefully at what's on her phone. And she finds you when you're gathered in the kitchen with Johnny just left. And she comes in, puts the phone and goes, since I might as well put my money where my mouth is, so I talked to after what you said and what Jenny said. So her sister in the club, right? There was a woman there who got torn apart by the rats. Okay, that woman, and she turns, and there's someone's Facebook page up with some people going, things like that. Is her. This woman is. Let me check my notes. This is Connie Maller, right? Late 20s, pretty much. Looks from the outside like a no hope and no lifer with the usual bland pictures on the Facebook page, going out for club night, etc., right? But she probably wasn't in there for clubbing. Connie, she taps, talking to Kim, friend of mine, who Connie's was was a drug dealer, not like a high up, but bottom end. The kind of person you go to because you're at the club and you want to get high or whatever. Yeah, and she's not moving massive amounts of product. She's a street level dealer, someone whose life never came to shit, and she ended up serving out drugs. Now you might be wondering why the fuck there are drug dealers in a shitty little place like Gleesham. Have you heard of county lines gangs? Okay, it's a big deal, right, with the drugs and how they're shifted out, because it used to be everyone think of drugs in cities, right, but there are all these little towns all over the UK with huge amount of population in them, living lives just like in little estates. After the war, right, there were these I can't remember the names of the laws. They passed some laws to make it much easier to develop these housing estates because the populations were growing. They wanted to get people out of the cities because everyone's like, oh, living in the cities is shit. Plus, a lot of cities have been hit with German missiles and things. But anyway, point is, there was a big movement to the countryside. So you've got a lot of these estates, pretty shitty estates of living these days. The county lines drug gangs have moved out of the cities and they're moved into the countryside. They're running drugs across the county lines. They're running them through these little towns. And then they're heading in this new market of all these people stuck in the estates and the towns. So I don't know when it started, maybe past 20 years when it's become more of a thing. Anyway, Kim says there's one of the local families called the Carters, right? Everybody fucking knows the Carters are dodgy as shit, and they're probably up to their eyeballs in drugs, right? Anyway, they're probably running the local county lines gang, but of course the police haven't got anything on them. So how the county lines gangs do it is they're very clever. They like shift it down to vulnerable people, kids, people who can't go to the police, and they get them to do a lot of the movement. So if they get caught, it doesn't hit the gang; it hits the poor, some poor shithead gets up and stuff. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off point. Connie is one of their dealers. Now, that might not mean much because your crazy magic rat might have just decided to prey on somebody because it needed a skin to wear, okay? Except, Kim says there's something rattling the local underworld, such as it is. I feel stupid calling Gleesham's criminal side the underworld, but there you go. I guess it is. There was some sort of shipment that was supposed to come in that Connie here picked up. Only Connie then vanished. Now, we know she vanished because rats ate her. But the local drug dealers are all up in a fucking tizzy because this big shipment they were supposed to receive has gone into... It's just vanished. So your rat fodder hasn't just been killed, but presumably whatever she was involved, whatever role she was supposed to play with this, has also been in. Someone's walked off with a load of drugs. Well, obviously it wasn't her because she's dead.
Interesting. Should probably find that.
Now, Jimmy Gibbon is the sleazebag who runs the club. He probably knows something about it. But then again, no, I don't know for sure.
I look at Johnny.
I'm not here.
Oh, he's not there?
I just left when she came
Oh,
down.
that's right. You're Barrow.
I'm digging my own grave right now.
No, yes. Okay. After I sprung out of it, you're filling the hole.
Yep.
So I'm not trying to say that these things are all important. What I'm trying to say is this is some information for you to maybe use. I don't know if the magic man-eating rats stole Connie's stash of drugs, or why they would if they did. Apart from the fact that it's probably quite a lot of money's worth of drugs.
Yep.
Bachelor typically don't concern themselves with money. There's something else afoot.
Not yet.
No, but Bachelor typically don't send werewolves to other Bachelor to kill them either.
Can Bachelor be controlled?
Can werewolves be controlled? Apparently, yes. We have been manipulated and controlled, so...
Well, I guess it's time to go back to that club. Maybe have a conversation. I'm going to look at Mary. politely with you.
Just go there during a normal club night or something when it's perfectly normal for people to go there. Right? Don't go after hours with crowbars and smash down the doors and like beat the shit out of people if you don't need to. They are probably a bunch of really shitty drug dealers, okay, who think they're hard shit. And for someone like me, probably would be, but they don't know about your who or what you are, okay? So you probably don't need to murder them all.
Just beat the shit out of them. Got it.
If it comes to that, okay, but just don't make it. How much are the police going to care if some two-bit nobodies in the streets are beating each other up? Probably not very much, right? If you paint that place in red and leave limbs scattered everywhere, they're going to start getting upset.
But if we burn it down, they'll never find the list. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm trying to give you some. Again, I don't know if this will be useful or not. But it's something. It's information. It's something you could maybe find useful, and therefore it's worth me throwing this in. All right. I just talked to Kim. She's a friend of mine. She's a journalist for the local newspaper, which does not in any way mean she's some sort of crazy reporter guaranteeing stuff. But she's got enough of an ear to the ground that she heard some shit was going on with some of the people who shift drugs around, because of course your person on the street who gets high from time to time is going to have heard some of this because their supply's just been rattled, and the word on the street is that there's one of the key person in the supply chain's been murdered, which by the way is something you should probably watch out for, because you were there that night. No, you were there that night. Connie's gone missing. If the county lines drugs gang, and they are not nice people, right? The two-bit people serving drugs out you don't give a shit about. The county lines drug gangs are bad people. If they figure there's a bunch of American drug dealers trying to move in on their turf or something, it might suddenly become like a fucking Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels movie.
Right.
You make a good point, Mary.
And she sort of sits back as unwound as if she'd kind of come in, not sure if you were going to go, fuck off, Mary, or something like that, or if it was just stupid, everything she was saying, but kind of having put out, it was like, okay, So
we've got a lot of things going on. We've got Hawkshurst, we've got Beshelu warring. The Kestrel is back out. We can't do anything about Hawkshurst right now. We need a lot more information. It's not something we can deal with right away. So, the Kestrel, something we're not going to be able to deal with right away. So why don't we deal with this special drug problem? Because that's something we can at least do. Get a win under our belts and get some momentum going. Any opposed?
I don't disagree that seems like a more imminent issue. I do think we need to make headway with Jenny to start addressing that problem, because I don't think it'll be a quick fix.
Well, taking care of the drug problem might help.
In what way?
I don't know. I just want to hit something.
I know you do. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do what we discussed with Mary and Jenny now, and then we can address the Beshelu problem tonight.
Fine. Tell them to meet me outside.
Thornbreaker turns to Mary and says, I've been thinking about what you and I discussed earlier this morning, and Keith, would you? Thank you. I was thinking about what we discussed earlier this morning, and about the imminent danger that you and Jenny are sometimes placed in because of your connection to the pack. And we discussed it, and we think that starting to educate the two of you on the things that you may not know may help you protect yourselves in those moments when we're not immediately available to help you. We also think it may help Jenny with this issue she's having, this hold that Hawkshurst has over her, because people like Hawkshurst, we've learned, part of their connection seems to be derived from the insecurities of their victims, Jenny has always felt like an outsider, so by really, even though she's not officially spiritually recognized as part of our pack yet, if we can start forming the social bonds of being a pack with her and making her feel more connected to who she is and who we are, might help her and help us break that bond.
Okay, you will have to be careful with Jenny though, because like she's got to go home sometime this evening before her parents start to wonder where the hell she is, and she needs to, whatever you're going to do, has got to fit around her normality.
Sure.
Yes, we can't just keep her here. I look at Thornbreaker. We can't just keep her here. Her parents will never agree to that.
He nods. We're not going to hurt her in any way. There won't be side effects to what we're about to do. But just sort of showing her that the things she sees about herself as unnatural and strange, she's in good company, essentially.
Okay, well, I can get behind that as long as it's done carefully, and like I said, as long as we don't fuck anything up further by ignoring the rest of her life that she's still got to get on with.
Sure. I'm gonna go bring her downstairs. Why don't you go outside with...
Stormbringer's going to grab two umbrellas as he walks out of the house.
Okay.
Why don't you and Harmonious Flame go out with Stormbringer, and I'll bring Jenny.
Okay.
Back in the... Oh, he's just... I think I was headphones. Like I say, back in the barrow. But Johnny may be distracted.
He needs
a minute. Yep.
One moment.
Sure.
So you go up to get Jenny, who's coming around, who's eaten and looking a bit healthier now that she's had something to eat and something to drink and some rest after having her spirit yanked in 3 directions. And I guess she's still on her phone, like texting. I better get going sooner or later because I need to be back for dinner with Mum and Dad, or they're going to start to wonder where I am. Plus, I've got to check on my sister and make sure Sarah's okay. What's up? You got a funny expression on your face.
We're going to let you go home soon. We talked it over, and we think that it would be useful for you to learn a little more. I mentioned that part of my job is keeping the history of our people and who we are and what we are and what you are that you don't know you are, and I think it might help.
Okay.
You feeling healthy enough to come outside with us?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm feeling pretty decent, apart from, Yeah, I'm okay. She sort of hops off bed, pulls her shoes on. Okay, so.
So he leads her outside and he says, we're going to show you some of what we can do so that you understand what we're capable of a little more, and we'd like to see what you can do, because we don't think it's strange.
Okay.
Jack is going to pick up the umbrellas, hand one to Mary and hand one to Jenny. You might need these.
Okay. She looks at Mary, just sort of rolls her eyes because she's gotten somewhat used to Stormbringer's, shall we say, showmanship on this kind of thing. And and Jenny's just like, okay, I've got an umbrella. I guess it's probably going to rain. Looking at the sky, but obviously the sky isn't cloudy.
Right. So Mary has an ability too. Mary is not a werewolf. We call ourselves collectively.
Really?
We call ourselves.
I'm just seeing how many minutes it takes me.
Oh.
Sorry.
We call ourselves collectively Uratha. It's a word that means the people. Oh no, Imru is the people. We call ourselves Uratha. It's a word in our ancient language that means werewolf, but we also call ourselves Imru, which means the people, collectively. It's a cultural word. So while I know you feel like you're strange and different, in reality, what you're learning now is that you're actually part of something bigger than yourself. You're part of an ancient heritage that stretches to the time, before recorded history, before humanity built their first cities. We were here and we walked the earth among great spirits we called the Firstborn, children of a great spirit called Father Wolf that policed the worlds of flesh and spirit.
Her facial expression has gone to the sort of slightly fixed smile of someone who's trying to keep up with what you're saying, and kind of like going, I'm not sure how much of this is that he's on drugs, how much of it is true, and how much of this I should just nod and smile through anyway.
For some of us, we're blessed with inheriting the power to change our shape. We are essentially human spirit hybrids, but for some of us the connection is weaker. We call those people wolf-blooded. That's what you are. That's what Mary is. You don't get the full spiritual inheritance, if you will, of our ancestors, but you get fragments of it, pieces. Mary...
And that's
Oh, go on, sorry.
and that's what I was before I changed.
That's what we all were before we underwent our first change.
Chris, all while he's explaining, I'm doing my whole thing in the background.
Yep, you're building up to do your...
It's 5 minutes.
Yep. Mary, her ability is to sense the presence of others like us, of other Uratha. It's an uncanny ability. She can sort of smell what we are. Your ability is to speak to the beasts of the earth and the beasts of the earth, sea, and sky. You can communicate with animals because you're reaching out with your spiritual power to their spiritual power, and that's what allows you to communicate with them. We have our own unique gifts, and I'd like to show you some of theirs, but we want to celebrate what makes you like us, celebrate your connection to our ancestors. So, if you wouldn't mind, show us.
Me?
He nods.
Where's it? I guess where's is Agrippa anywhere nearby? Is he? Agrippa! She sort of shouts to, because your dog is, if you remember, called Agrippa. The dog.
Yes.
Now, let me just pull up her details of her. Did I?
Can we rename the dog? Dog.
They're on the forums.
Dog.
So
Yeah, I've just found it.
What? I want to rename the dog Dog. I'll remember that.
She calls for Agrippa, and your dog emerges from around the corner of the building, running over very excitedly. There's a good boy. There's a good boy. You know, so offers him and goes, Agrippa. She stops, like, roll over. Agrippa rolls over. Sit. She looks at you like going,
Ask Agrippa what he thinks of us.
what do you think? Big smelly people, huh? What do you think of them, boy? Yeah, they're very smelly, aren't they?
Hey.
He says you're kind of scary. He thinks, I mean, you're part. He's with you, but he's a bit afraid of you when you become wolves.
Can we make the dog a member of the pack? Is that allowed?
You can with a nature facet, yes.
Yes, we have to do that. We must make dog a member of the pack.
So,
good boy, yes.
So Thornbreaker reaches down and scratches behind the dog's ear and then stands up and says, "That's amazing. Not even we can do that."
Mary looks and goes, "You got served one of the good cards on the deck. You know what I can do? I can smell these fuckers." That Agrippa's saying smell bad. That's more or less it.
Jack is throwing dirty looks at Mary while he goes about his work of calling the store.
He says,
That's nothing.
It's one thing for the dog to say we smell food. It's another thing for her.
That's literally her power.
So he says that that's not to say that Uratha can't learn to speak to animals, but you were just given a gift. And that's what we call them, the powers that we have. We call them gifts. Gifts from the spirits. You were given this gift likely from a nature spirit just because of your inheritance. We have gifts too, though. Stormbringer's going to show you one. He's preparing now, calling to the spirits.
Has it been about 5 minutes, Chris?
Yeah. So what? Yes. So you're sort of wandering, pacing back and forth, gathering the power around you. So it's an extent. Have you been making the rolls?
I made the rolls. I made 5.
Okay.
5 rolls get a 10 success.
Yeah, you hit success. Okay. So yeah, you're pacing back and forth. It's been about the time, and you.
So
okay.
on the last one, as he usually does, he's going to howl at the sky, and that's.
Yep.
So,
So you howl at the sky, and
It's not
and of
night
course,
yet. It's not night yet.
the weather starts to change.
I'm also not in werewolf form, Pete. I'm not in any wolf form. I don't know that a human quote-unquote howl really counts.
Right.
It says a werewolf howl, actually. So maybe
Right.
it does. I'm not chancing it, bud.
Okay, well you don't. Okay, so you howl, and the weather starts to change. The thunder rolls distantly, and then black clouds are immediately gathering on the horizon. And within within minutes, the sky has become this surly carpet of cloud above you as it starts to rain, and this roll of thunder, it crashes down. And she looks up like not quite skeptically, because it's clearly she's just seen you do the howl and then things change. But like, she looks at you, and she's clearly different. She's thinking she's warring with different thoughts. She's taken this for face value that you have done this. She's probably impressed. Hard to read, but then what she comes out with is she looks and goes, "Wait, are werewolves responsible for Britain's bad weather?"
I'm gonna smile. I'm gonna smile and tell her that the weather's been abnormally shit since I.
That would explain a lot.
Thornbreaker says, werewolves aren't always responsible for the weather, but they are sometimes. Weather spirits exist. Their only purpose is to bring weather. So rain spirits bring rain. But because we can communicate with these spirits, we can ask them to do what we want them to do, and they sometimes listen.
Wow. So you can literally make it... Wait, hold on. If you can make it rain, why don't you go and go to places with droughts and solve...
Sometimes we do. There's a balance in nature that werewolves try to solve, but just like there are spirits of weather, there are spirits of drought, and they're part of nature. So it's not our job to decide how nature should be. It's our job to make sure that the spirits do what they're supposed to do on their side.
But the spirits of droughts have got to be assholes because they kill loads of people.
They can be, but if we killed every spirit of drought to prevent any droughts in the future, it would create rampant flooding. The drought spirits and the water spirits war with each other, but in that war there's harmony. There's balance. We keep the balance.
Narrows eyes, like she's trying to pick holes in her argument.
I'm gonna hold, Jack's going to hold a finger up to Thornbreaker. You've seen Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
The Force. You got Sith, you got the Jedi. And you can't have one without the other. Both coexist at the same time.
That makes sense.
But the Jedis are tyrants without them.
That makes sense. Does it end up with you standing with all your limbs and chopped off and someone shouting at you about the high ground?
Ironically enough, I've lost my eyes already. And I did take a chainsaw to the rear end. So yes, I have no doubt that at some point I'm going to lose an arm roll.
She nods like this all makes sense to her.
Nobody yells about the high ground though, because then I may have to slap her. I glare at Thornbreaker for that one.
Okay, so basically, it's like the Force from Star Wars. Okay, that makes sense.
Jack with the pop culture reference.
Yeah. Kids these days.
That's really what. That's actually, Chris. I have a question for you. And I know that's not entirely the spirit of blood and bone, but I almost just come to a different level where Bill was trying, or Thornbreaker was trying to go with the guru, and I went, wait a minute, dude, go away, old man. Let the Cubs take care.
Yeah, I will give you a point of willpower for that, for trying to be down with the kids.
So I didn't mean to step on you there, Dan. It was like,
No.
you know what? I just realized he went guru right there, and I took Cub in the wrong direction, and that's fantastic.
Thornbreaker, in his pursuit to be the guru, often finds himself with his foot firmly inserted in his mouth. But that's why it's something he strives for and not something he embodies. So he says, I know you've got to get home, but you and I will be having more conversations if you'd like, and I'd like to tell you the old stories, how we came to be and why things are the way they are. Both of you, he says, looking at Mary also.
So Jenny goes, okay. Probably clearly wondering if it's going to be more how it's going to be passed. Mary nods. And if I'll be honest, I generally try to avoid it most of the time to avoid getting roped into shit. It looks like I'm in shit at this point anyway, so I might as well know more about what it is I'm waist deep in.
Stormbringer is going to go get the truck and bring it around to Martha because he wants to talk a little bit to Sally, was the sister?
Sarah.
Sarah.
But Jenny's like, you probably, it's not a good time because you're not going to be able to get in the house with the parents there.
All he wants to know is what the club is.
Is what the club is what? Sorry, it cut off.
The club is like.
Oh, I can tell you about that. No, I mean, not that I've ever been in there. Jenny is not 18 and really shouldn't be in nightclubs. I talked to... Yeah, no, possession is like... so it's not... It was this... There was a worse club in Gleesham, but then that closed down. So it's now the worst club. I mean, it's not a lot of competition, but anyway, I mean, it's dark, it's sweaty, it's smelly. I mean, I can tell you about it if you want to tell it, but there's not a lot to tell really. It's just a small town club. I mean, probably overpriced drinks, people dealing in things like pills and stuff in the corners. The owners are he's a weirdo. Like some guy, he was big in some London scene, they say, like maybe 10, 20 years ago. And he looks like he's he looks like he's done his fair share of drugs in his years, but he had some connection. He's always going. He says he's got connections in London and the big shots in the music industry and stuff. I don't think it's true because why would he be out in Gleesham running a shitty little club, right? But anyway, I mean, what do you want to know about it, really? Are you going to go clubbing?
I might.
Because she takes that. So, because Stormbringer is in the age bracket. He's not much long out of university. He's in the age bracket.
No, he's. I forget how old. I think he's 22 or 23.
Yeah, he's in the age bracket that could reasonably be going clubbing and it not seem weird. So, she's like, if you want to go clubbing, I mean, I can tell you if you. I don't know how it will work with you guys, but if you need something to help give your evening a boost, as they say when they're trying to speaking euphemisms about about scoring some drugs, I could tell you, but then you could probably do that. You probably know how to do that stuff yourself anyway. So, not that I know. Anyway, yeah, just ask anything you want to know, and you've got my number. You can text me.
Sounds good. I'm also, Chris. I'm gonna kind of. I know I've been ignoring my touchstones quite a bit. Jack is gonna pull out his phone and shoot out a text to the rugby boys.
Yeah.
And see if there are any in the area that want to meet at the club. And that he heard of a new club. He heard of a club in this new town he's hanging in, and wanted to know if the boys wanted to get together.
So you set up because if there are a few of them in the Blackmore Vale area around the edges, and they work in various different things now because they're mostly young like you in the 20s, but they have gone from everything from the guy who is a labourer, like a brick, just brickworker, to the guy whose dad is moneyed as fuck and is really quite. But you quickly get the responses back, mixture of a few go, I can't do it tonight, sorry man, I'm not there, and they feel like we're going, and then one guy goes, oh possession, I've heard that club's really shit. And there's a pause after he's put it on the little chat, and then he goes, I'm definitely fucking coming. A few of them like going, yeah, we'll meet you up tonight, get a few
Jack's response to that club is shit, I'm definitely going, is I love you idiots.
Yeah. We'll meet at one of the pubs nearby, get a few beers down us, and then we'll meet them. Go there. You can meet us. And there's various people who's going to go to the club, who's going to go to the pub, how anyone the fuck is going to get home tonight. Most of which is left with we don't really fucking care. Someone knows a few people in the town who might be a sofa to sleep on and stuff. So yeah, you immediately
I'm not going to mention the fact that I live in a mansion.
That bit's carefully left out. Yeah, your touchstone is basically on board with turning up to get boozed up and have hit the night on the town tonight.
Awesome.
I think this is a terrible idea though, because I'm bringing them into a place where there are Bechelou, which may not have been my brightest idea.
No, you're bringing them into a place where there were Bechelou.
That's true.
I mean, I'm sure you'll protect them from anything bad that comes their way.
Indeed. How old is Johnny? I don't know.
Johnny's mid-20s, so he's
So
still
Johnny
in
can come
that
with us.
bracket.
And how old is Thornbreaker?
Thornbreaker, I think, is in his early 30s. I have to double check what I wrote down.
Okay, so you're the old man. You're our
He's the old
designated
man,
driver.
Yeah. He also prefers the woods to clubs.
Well, that's why we're gonna take you, because you're total dad mode, and it's gonna be hilarious.
Right.
He stands awkwardly in the corner.
Dirty Humies.
Anyway.
How old is Harmonious Flame?
Mid-30s as well.
Okay, so mom and dad are coming to the club with us. Great.
There you go.
Mom and dad can wait in the car.
Early night out.
All right.
So as you guys are gathering up, so obviously Stormbringer, you get Jenny in the pickup to go and drive her back. Mary sort of settles back for finishing up her day after she has to take the day off for this fuck up. As you guys are there and making plans for your evening, and you're going to do this run on the club and try and investigate stuff there. Johnny up in the barrow, and we'll finish it for tonight. Same location we finished last session, but less blood eagles, hopefully this time. Johnny, you're digging away. This tantalizing waft of a scent that's just firing something in you in sparks and it's almost it's not invigorating, or is it kind of? It's a very strange sensation you haven't experienced before, but it doesn't quite leave you wanting more in a kind of. It's not like a drug or anything, but there's something like part of yourself is trying to go. Turn on into a form that it feels it should, but there's not quite enough to spark it into a flame. There is not enough to set your essence ablaze with purpose. So you dig, and you're digging away. Could I please have a strength plus athletics check roll?
Okay.
Roll or check one.
I'm going to be doing this in Rashul, just because that's conducive.
Scare the shit out of any ramblers who come sticking their heads in, but hey,
Damn right.
Yeah, if they're dumb enough to come into a cordoned off barrow, then they see something terrifying. Well, frankly, it's all just in theme, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
They should be happy to get a bespoke, frightening experience in an ancient barrow.
One success.
Okay, you're digging away. It's hard work, and you're digging down. And you get past the point where someone's come in, and they have cleared away the earth down to cleared a certain of earth, and some of it's been put back again. They've covered stuff over, but you're digging down past where anyone has really excavated in here. You're at the end, and it's the end of the really narrow path through the little alcoves where there was a sort of a slab, and you go in front of that, really digging down. The scent isn't getting. It's weird because it's not getting stronger. It's so faint that it's still there. You're trying to follow it down to the ground. And you dig, and you dig, and you dig. And about 5 foot down, like quite a way of digging, and you've gone through a few other things. You come to a layer, which obviously the archaeologists never found, of sootiness, like soot, burned wood, and fragments of burned pottery or something. And it smells here in the earth of old flame long extinguished. But through that layer, you go just a little bit further than that, and you come to a hard stop. You found like a bowl-like slab of stone. Digging away at this, you dig, and here the scent is slightly stronger. It doesn't go further down. This is what you've led to. It is very faint. Something was here once that is no longer. And as you get to this, your hair stands on the back of your neck, stands on end. How much purity do you have?
1.
Roll your purity.
Oh.
Anybody else concerned for Johnny right now? I know I am. Oh, hey, what is this fuckery that you're getting into on your own, sir?
0 successes, Chris.
Pot meat kettle.
You dig down, you excavate this a little bit to see what it is. It's like a bowl, and it's in the earth you're pulling away. It's layered with soot and again sort of burned fragments of something. Your soul is slightly sparking. The essence in you is sparking with this half-remembered sense of purpose and drive. It's not igniting it. There's not enough here for it to do so. There was something, or something happened here, or something meaningful occurred here that is interacting with the very fabric that your essence, the rivers of essence that make up your spirit, are woven from. It is your auspice, isn't it still? I think it's the last night of your auspice.
It is.
And you can feel the weight of the auspice. The moon isn't even up yet, but you can feel here, you can feel the weight of the new moon pressing on your, or lifting, pulling at your soul, this tidal pull. That is becoming, as you've got closer, this is becoming to focus. Your connection with the moon has clarified. You are, in essence, it is the same now as if you were seeing the moon. So you just gained a point of essence for seeing your moon first time in the night, even though you cannot see the moon here, because the connection with the moon has strengthened by you being here. It is, you are essentially in the conditions of it was nighttime and the moon of the new moon. Something burned here, or was offered here, or sat here. It is gone now, but whatever it was had meaning. You cannot place that meaning. Your soul is striving to give you those answers, but it simply cannot. It's just not strong enough. But what you have sensed, you are absolutely certain of, in the depths, in the blood and bone that makes you up, in the essence that flows through your soul, you feel your tribal connection resonate. This is a sacred place. You don't know who it is sacred to, or why it was sacred, if it is profane in a way, if it was this pure place, was this of the forsaken, but it carries weight and meaning under the very oath that you have sworn to Black Wolf. The air here is thin. You are on the edge of a boundary to somewhere else, not the shadow. You cannot cross this boundary because it is not to the shadow. You don't know where it goes. This place is a crossing over point and possibly a doorway. But it's beyond your understanding as a werewolf. As you inhale and you bring this power, your soul wants to spark into life, but it cannot. Something isn't here anymore, and that matters, or something that happened here isn't taking place here. Therefore your soul cannot spark into the fire that the moon is trying to perhaps stir in you. You hear odd, as you take this in, you hear in the air odd harmonics. It hints at something that might be half-formed music, chimes, or is it just how your ears are trying to pass the frequencies that are resonating here? You don't know. Give me an int plus occult roll.
This is amazing. This is like an awesome place for my character. It has harmony, music, and archaeology.
I'm throwing a point of willpower on this. 3 successes.
Okay. In what studies you haven't done in your research, you picked up on some bits and pieces about local folklore, like when you were trying to deal with the Colopexy, which is apparently a local fairy, right? Mm-hmm. One of the Dorset myths, or some of the Dorset myths, pretend to places. They suggest that there is if you like, a fairy world. Fairy is probably the wrong word, actually, but a place that the barrows lead to. A place that the liminal places in Dorset lead to, where they are what I might call fairies, but frankly, the Dorset folk thinks the Colopexy is a fucking fairy. So Dorset fairies are pretty fucked up, right?
Right.
And these talk about people have heard strange sounds and laughter and music in these thin places, these places between. Listening to what is resounding around you, you can absolutely understand how a normal human being who heard this would think it was the music of fairies with tinkling chimes and strange ethereal voices. Listening to it as you strain to, you do not think it is communication or voices, but the frequencies that are coming through here absolutely match that kind of folklore. You are on the threshold to somewhere else. It burns with the purpose of the moon, and Black Wolf is telling you this place is sacred.
Hold on a second. Sorry. It's a different set of gifts. So, Johnny thanks Black Wolf silently where he is. And that he'll protect it from further intrusion and try to restore it to its former, to find what's missing. So, Chris, it was like a bowl in there, you said?
It was there's basically like a big stone, almost flagstone, but it's dipped down like a bowl. Like it's possibly a fire pit kind of stone that you would pile the fuel in and burn in there.
Okay.
It's quite big. It's quite heavy. It may also
Yeah.
be the location that's important rather than just the object. So moving it out here probably is a bit of a non-starter. But yeah.
Yeah. No, I figure it's a non-starter. And it's probably too much to try to recover this, so Johnny's going to leave it exposed as he climbs out.
Okay. Where we're going to leave it. So Johnny climbs out. You come out into the fresh late afternoon. No, sorry. The downpour soaking the late afternoon around you, as some fucker has called up a storm while you were down exploring the sacred place.
Storm fucker.
As you emerge, at the moment you emerge, back down in the mansion, where Harmonious Flame, where Stormbringer's just headed off in the pickup with Jenny, Harmonious Flame and Thornbreaker and Mary are gathered in the kitchen. I'll discuss what happens next. When Thornbreaker, you feel the tidal pull of your mistress. Reality's perspective around you warps and pulls away, and you are slammed right into a prophetic dream there at the table. That is where we're going to leave it for tonight, as Thornbreaker is about to be punched in the brain by Luna. And yeah, we'll leave it there for tonight. Next time we'll follow up as the pack prep for their night out on the town. Literally a night out, not actually involving blowing things up, probably. Okay, not a hunt on the town, just a night on the town, an actual night on the town, where Stormbringer will totally not break anyone's face at any point while going clubbing, I am sure. Thornbringer experiencing a prophetic dream, slamming out of the blue. Johnny learning more perhaps about the sacred place he has discovered, and Harmonious Flame trying to stop anyone exploding or doing anything disastrous. Aspirations time then. Let's rack up that XP. So we're going to start going around from where people appear on my screen. Harmonious Flame. Aspiration.
I think I cracked all three because we made progress on Hawkhurst, we made progress on exploring the Kestrel Hall a little bit more, and finding a way to protect Jenny from Hawkhurst.
Yep, okay, I will rack all those up. Okay, next up is Stormbringer.
Okay, so first aspiration. Hold on, sorry. So first aspiration: learn WTF I let out of the cave.
Yep.
I started today's session not knowing. I now have a general idea, so I'm going to say I definitely checked off that one.
Yep.
Find what happened to Cinders and Glass. I have a general idea again of what happened and just what the result of that is. Obviously, I attacked him. I don't know if that counts.
You spent some time on it, so I'm happy for that to count.
Okay, and then remove the architect's claim on the land. We've made moves towards finding out more about him and how to remove him. I don't know if that counts.
Yeah, I think the information gathering is valuable stuff, so I'll give you those. Okay, Dan, how about Thornbreaker?
My first aspiration is have a meaningful interaction with one of my touchstones, which I think we hit with Jenny. The second one is learn more about Hawkhurst and the Oozers. I think that we covered that. And then my third one is increase my purity. I did have a meaningful, respectful interaction with Linebreaker, who I'm assuming is of higher status than I am.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're aiming for a fairly low count purity, I think that's okay. You were respectful to him, and you did straight up. You did also go straight to the local blood talon. The other blood talons go. By the way, Kestrel's free, so that's fair. I think I'll allow those. Yeah. And finally, Johnny.
So first aspiration is find the secondary locus on the territory. He thought that the barrel might contain one. Clearly, it doesn't.
Can't say something else. I'll give you a beat there because you were actively searching for that.
Second is find out why the Kestrel was banished. Well, we found out it wasn't actually banished on purpose. It sounds
Yep.
more like it was banished on accident. And then the third aspiration was learn to hide from fear spirits. While he didn't necessarily learn a permanent trick towards it, he knows he has an avenue to approach should he need it.
Yeah, Creeping Dread is willing to basically give you a one-shot. He hasn't explained how, but it's willing to give you a short-term one-shot method of protection from their perception. But it's a one-shot thing. But yes, that is fine. All those hits. So that is one more XP for everybody, with one beat left over. So unless I think again it's been a fairly low dice rolling. Well, it hadn't been on Sacred Hunt, and it's been fairly minimal dice rolling because it's been dealing with the aftermath of the Kestrel breaking out and doing research, which is fairly low rolling stuff. So I imagine next time will be a bit more beat intensive, although you will need to get quite a few beats to secure your next XP in that respect. However, we'll leave that till next time. And for now, I think I'll say thank you very much for any viewers, listeners, anyone who's catching us now on the stream or who catches us later on YouTube. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said, it's been a slightly different pace to this part of this story because we started off with the rather breakneck speed of rats exploding out of people and things burning and then things exploding. This part has been slightly more contemplative, if you like, as the pack struggle to deal with some of the issues that are besetting them and understand what's going on as they stumble across landmine after landmine. But I imagine there's a lot of good opportunity for characterization and role playing and settling in and getting to know some of the characters as well. I feel so. I think it's not XP intensive or not action intensive, but I think it's quite worthwhile. I think that'll start to pick up speed at some point, but who knows? This doesn't have to be an all action all the time story. Who knows where it'll take us? If unless there's anything else from the rest of you, I think that's it for today, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, thanks to everyone for joining us. We are, I believe, we'll talk about it to confirm, but we are planning to play next Saturday at the normal time, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is GMT -5. However, the following week is the weekend of Christmas. I know I'll be busy. I'm sure some.
I think we'll skip from.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we're gonna skip that week, and then the week after we should be back. So, but we'll keep you guys posted if anything changes. But assume that's our schedule moving forward. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you everybody who is in the chat, and glad you guys seem to be enjoying it. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Adios.